Hello and welcome back to the Random Show episode number 81 with your host Agostino Zinga. This is the Random Show episode number 81 with your host Agostino Zinga, and I hope this Random Show is finding you nice and dandy wherever you may be. Big up everybody in the stream chat right now, hanging in there waiting for me. Apologies for the lateness. I'm over 12 minutes late. I do apologize, but I have to stick it. I'm not going to stick the middle finger up to you guys, but to whoever in the chat doubted me and said I wasn't going to be here, ha, I proved you all wrong. You should all take a look in the mirror, all right? And really shake your head furiously from side to side that you ever doubted me. How could you doubt me? All right, I may have ghosted you a few times. All right, I may have ghosted you a few times. Hands up, I do apologize. I did set some streams ahead of time scheduled and I didn't turn up. I understand this, but I'm here now. I had to prove you guys wrong. All right, look at me. I'm ready. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to stream, bro. Look, I've even got the green juice ready to go. You know when I got the green juice ready, that I'm ready to stream. Green juice ready, filled to the brim, iced up and whatnot. Just got a bit of kale, spinach, kiwi, some ginger, and nothing else. No honey, no extra preservatives, no nothing. Just straight vegetables pressed in through a sieve and poured into this lovely jar that I purchased from IKEA. We're green juice up today. No whiskey, no tiger cum, none of that nonsense. We're whiskey up today. And also, have you noticed anything new here? I switched the screens from that side, from this side over this side. So hopefully when I look at the chat, it shouldn't look like the opposite way, right? So it should kind of make some sense here. Also, for all of you guys who are listening via headphones, I do apologize if I'm hissing and kissing all over the place because I had to replace the pop shield. The one I had beforehand on my mic was full of gunk. It was literally disgusting. I was going to take a picture of it and upload it onto my community tab just as like an LOL thing, but I thought, you know what, that's kind of gross, so I kind of spared you. But I've ordered a couple of new ones, should be coming in tomorrow, but I don't have a pop shield on my thing just yet. But when I do get it, everything will be okay. Yeah, for the topics tonight, Ricey Rich, please check the description. I did put all the random show topics on there. I'm going to start doing that going forward, actually. I'm going to start doing that. I'm going to start putting all the topics in the description. So if you want to check the show out, you can. If it's not for you, you can just bounce. Because the last thing people want, because I know I hate it sometimes, I check people's live streams and I think they're going to be talking about one thing, they talk about another thing, and then it's a complete waste of time. So I'll put all that stuff usually in the flipping description. So check out the description. Ricey Rich, and you can see what I'm going to be talking about, and you can have a gander and see if it's for you or not. No harm if it isn't. But yeah, big up everybody in the stream, big up everybody hanging out. It's been a while. I need to be on this quite often, to be fair, streaming, because I feel like whenever I kind of miss a few days, so much stuff happens. Like I come back and it's like, Too Lazy to Try has got like 17 videos out. TFATK channel's put in 17. Like so many things happen in the Papaverse. It's absolutely just incredible. If anything, it goes quiet for a while, then all of a sudden, back to back, things just start occurring. So it's nice that we got a lot of changs to chomp on. So big up all those channels out there doing God's work and updating everybody, because if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't have an idea what's going on. And of course, the TFATK forums, or that also helps in that regard. But yeah, big up everybody hanging out, big up everybody here in the chat. We're gonna get talking through a lot of things as per usual. You know how it is. Random show settings, nothing really surprising here. You know what the deal is. I sit on here and start talking nonsense. Let me up the mic level a little bit. I sit on here and start talking a little bit of nonsense, and whatever it may be, and we go through these topics and we have some fun and whatnot, and hopefully you guys enjoy along the way. As per usual, as I always say, as a little disclaimer on the show, this is all for shits and giggles. We keep all our LOLs and he's and ha-ha-has on here. We don't disturb these people in real life. I'm not really a fan of the whole trolling comedians so that they can block you and then bragging about them blocking you online. I think that's incredibly lame. If anything, laughing and pointing at them from afar and not engaging in anything they do is actually way cooler, because it shows you just like, like pointing and laughing at things. It's not really that deep. So I think that's a better way to go about things, personally, I think. But yeah, big up everybody in the stream chat, big up everybody for hanging out. I do appreciate all of you guys for doing so. And as per usual, throughout the entirety of the show, if you enjoy what you hear and you see, all you can do to help me out is, of course, smash the like button. That'll be greatly appreciated. And of course, if you don't like it, you're still welcome to hit the dislike, because, those are two sides of the same emotion, in my opinion. The same emotion. But anyway, let me take a swig of this green juice before we start so I can really get into the mood. I'll mute the mic, so for you guys that are allergic to slurping, bear with me. That was good. Not gonna lie, that was absolutely lovely. So let's roll. Okay, so many things to go through. Don't waste too much of your time. Number one topic to talk about straight away that I just saw now on the interwebs that we need to talk about is this. What do you guys think of this? Boogie, 298A and Wings of Redemption will be fighting. There's going to be another celebrity, another kind of influencer, I guess, boxing fight. It's going to be happening very soon via KEEMSTAR and his Happy Punch promo, which is a really great name for a promotion. Because if you remember back in the day, that whole Happy Slap thing. Do you guys remember that Happy Slap thing where people would go up to random people and slap them in the back of their head and run off? That was called Happy Slaps. Anyway, it was where I come from in London. But I like the name Happy Punch promo. And he set up a fight between two of the biggest locals. The two, maybe they're definitely in the top three. Maybe DSP is number one or Dark Side Field, but they're definitely in the top three of locals of all time. We got Wings of Redemption and Boogie, and they're going to be fighting. And what's going to be interesting about this is that they're both, if I'm not mistaken, over 400 pounds. They're both morbidly obese. They both make zero effort to lose weight. In the case of Wings of Redemption, the guy here on the right, he allegedly scammed his fans out of like loads of money to get gastric bypass. And to make it worse, if I'm not mistaken, the Wings of Redemption story goes something like he scams his fans to get the bypass. He kind of guilt trips them, cries online, bemoans his weight, wants to lose weight, struggles so hard, his fans feel sorry for him and think he's actually going to change, so they raise a lot of money for him to kind of get the surgery. He then doesn't want to get the surgery in America because it's too expensive, so he goes to Mexico. And this is a guy that doesn't travel. He doesn't even leave his state that often. He's a bit of a homebody, right? Because that's the thing I've realized about all locals. Don't you think that's interesting? All locals don't travel, innit? They're all hermits in a way. They can't just sit online and basically, they sit on stream and just beg people for money and stuff, and and guilt trip people and manipulate people emotionally and stuff, to kind of feel sorry for them so they can kind of sustain this lifestyle of essentially just stasis. They don't do absolutely anything, and they all are basically homebodies, or in DSP's case, they're actual hermits. But regardless, Wings of Redemption, for whatever reason, doesn't want to get a surgery in America, then decides to go to Mexico to get a surgery. The common theory around detractors in the Wings of Redemption verse is that he went to Mexico because he could get it for cheap, the gastric bypass, and also he could maybe, of course, pocket the rest of the money because he's obviously thinking always long term. And he comes back after the gastric bypass. I think that's when he also buys that Mustang, doesn't he? I think he buys a Mustang around the same time. So imagine seeing this 400 plus man driving a flipping Mustang with the top down and stuff, thinking he's doing something, parking up in front of a trailer. It's absolutely crazy. In one way, it's absolutely cool. It's like seeing a Lambo parked outside of a trap house or something in the back, in the ends, like outside of a bando. But in his case, when he pulls out and he's got like a 7XL shirt and he looks like he can't, his bones can just about support his body weight, it looks a little bit sad in that regard. Regardless, he does that all good. In Boogie's case, he's got the greatest few clips in recent memory, where I think he's got one particular clip where he basically starts bragging online. Again, this is these two people essentially make the entire living online is basically made around the idea of people pointing and laughing at them in one way, people who don't like them, and then their fans feeling sorry for them and kind of tipping and donating to them. That's how they basically make money. So they kind of essentially have created this weird like victim complex thing that they kind of lean on, which is really sad and pathetic. Really, I can't imagine anything worse than that in my entire life. Do you know what I mean? I'd rather just self-expired and do something like that. But regardless, we've all got our path in life. The thing with Boogie that's really funny is I remember the video that he put out where he was kind of like, he was flexing on, I don't know who he was flexing on, maybe his fans, maybe people who don't like him, about how he did so well in the crypto, because of course, the early parts of crypto and everybody on the internet kind of discovered it at the same time. People did make quite a bit of money in the same way that people in NFT space made a lot of money when NFTs kind of captured the public consciousness. But over time, markets go up and down, regulations come in, government bodies get involved, and it's had to see, all these independent people rising up the flipping poverty ladder and whatnot and becoming financially stable. Of course, they were going to come in and put the hammer on it. It made complete sense why it did happen. So loads of those things happened, and a lot of these crypto investments kind of, basically went down to zero, and he was basically left desolate. And of course, at the time, I think he bought an expensive Tesla or something. So really crazy. So he's got a video where he's bragging about the money he made on crypto. And then quite soon after, he's got another follow-up video basically saying, I need your help. With no kind of irony, no kind of, self-awareness at all of the kind of content that he put out prior. It's absolutely typical about these guys. So if anything, this is a chance for them to get some big money, because again, these guys are, you know, despite what they look like physically, they care a lot about money, and for sure they're going to make a decent enough bag. But the interesting part about it is that I don't think it's going to be enough to like stop them from begging. They're still going to be begging. And the interesting part about it is on DSP side of things, Dark Side Phil, he said on his stream recently that he thinks this is like beneath him. Like he would never do a boxing fight because he's too good for it, and he thinks it's like a desperation thing, blah 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 blah. Which is funny because DSP is like worse than these guys, because he legitimately takes advantage of people who are not maybe all there mentally, to kind of whatever it may be. So he kind of willingly takes advantage of these people under the guise that he needs financial help, when he obviously doesn't. He makes like 100k plus per year, or whatever it may be. But he would much rather beg and plead his fans for tips than actually try to do something like this, where it would involve a fight camp. They're going to try and lose weight a bit. There's probably going to be some cool content around it, and you never know. In a parallel universe, right? They could look here. Listen, big one. We got Dark Web Jay. Good to see you. In a parallel universe, this could actually be a turning point. Like, imagine if Boogie and Wings could turn the narrative, as Brendan would say, in every facet, as Brendan would say, around for them. Imagine if that's possible. Imagine if they could turn it around and they could somehow become likable. It wouldn't last for long, because they're both fundamentally terrible human beings in terms of personalities, right? Especially Wings. He's just got zero motivation. He kind of brags about the fact that he's got low T, and there's rumors out here that he hasn't flipping consummated his marriage. Like, absolutely wild guy. But I would love it if there actually was a point where they could turn the public perception around them, and I could hear what flipping DSP is saying, because they all need a little bit of respite from the public. They all need guys to kind of like them for a little bit so they can be mentally cool and shit. But I'm eager to see what this kind of turns into. I really am eager to see it, because I can't wait. It's going to be an absolute shit show, but I think this is going to be very, very entertaining, because both of these guys have failed to lose weight over a number of years. They've failed in every facet possible. In every single way, they've failed to lose weight. They've got money, they've got time. All they do is stream. They can essentially hire a personal chef, personal trainer to get them to lose weight, and they can't do it. Lack motivation, lack the willpower, bloody blah blah blah. So just the journey that they're going to take to just learn how to stand on their 2 feet for longer than 5 minutes is going to be a mindfuck. Throwing a punch, everything about it is going to be really interesting. And to find out what they got paid, because that's the thing. I think Wings said recently that he's not going to say how much he got paid. But if you know anything about Wings, he can't keep a secret. He's like Bert Kreischer, like his mouth just keeps moving. So for sure, Wings is going to tell us how much he got paid. And when he does tell us how much he got paid, it's going to be interesting to see like what the price is, because I think he always says he would have done it only for 100 grand or something, but I doubt they're going to give them 100 grand. It might be 50k. Maybe a bonus. I don't know. I don't really know. But regardless, I'm here for it. I'm definitely going to pay for the pay-per-view. I'm definitely going to be watching this. May even do a live stream when it happens. It's going to be absolutely fun and ridiculous, and it's going to be very entertaining. So I'm eager like a beaver to see how this goes down. I really am. And I actually like the influencer boxing space. That's a kind of controversial opinion on my side of things. I know some people don't like it, but I actually don't mind it. Especially now that they've kind of stopped pretending that they're trying to be serious professional boxers. Because I think in the beginning they were trying to promote it that way, like they were going to be fighting on the undercard of real boxer fights and stuff. I was like, what's the point? Like, for a professional boxer, it kind of devalues what you do. For the influencer, it gives you delusions of grandeur and kind of doesn't really help you place where you actually are. And in general, it's just a waste of time, because two of those two audiences don't overlap at all, you would imagine. I don't think there's a lot of boxing fans who are super into TikTok kids and YouTube influencers and stuff. There's not really need for it. So I like that they've kind of stuck to their own their own little zones, like they don't kind of blend and do other things. I like that. But yeah, big up everybody in the stream chat. Big up MN. Big up everybody. Big up Coiler in the chat as well. Big up. I appreciate all you guys. But yeah, let's move on quickly. Next, I have to mention this one, right? I have to apologize to, I think, Dylan B in the stream chat. I remember him giving me a bit of a schooling. And I forgot who else in the chat was kind of laughing at me because I was making up my own boxing scoring system. But yesterday, when I got back from Berlin, I did download the Tommy Fury and Jake Paul fight. I downloaded it, right? And I rewatched it again. And I legitimately have to say, I think similar to like UFC cards, because usually when it comes to football, and I'm talking about, you know, football, like soccer that we play here in the UK, I generally tend to watch that without the commentary. I always put it on mute, or I have like, you know, whatever, and I'll just watch it like that usually. Unless it's a Champions League game or something. But I usually watch Premier League games for the most part on mute. And it's drastically different how you see the game, watching it on mute, making up your own mind as you're kind of watching it and paying attention, as opposed to how the commentators are talking and maybe the co-commentator who maybe is a fan or whatnot. It just kind of skews it. So I think with me, because I was watching the fight on my stream and I had the headphones playing and I was listening to the commentary a little bit, and I was kind of going off my hype and whatnot, and I might have been a few, you know, I might have had a few bevies down my system, and I may have had a few other things in me as well. I think it kind of, you know, it kind of threw me off in terms of what was happening on screen. So when I was watching it, I legitimately thought Jake Paul was winning that fight, and he's the one that exerted more damage. There was a point even, I think, in the stream where I said, I think Jake Paul threw more punches or something. And the stats came out, and Tommy Fury had like, I don't know, double the amount of punches that Jake Paul had. I think Tommy's was in like the 300s, and Jake Paul was obviously in like the 100s. It was absolutely frightening. So clearly that wasn't the case. And if anything, maybe Tommy doesn't have the knockout power. Oh, big up donation from Robert. Big up Robert Henry Poet.
Annie Lederman burned Chris D'Elia at her recent DC show. Don't remember the joke, was funny though. Something about an 13-year-old girl. Joey D say he's happy Lee didn't end up like Brendan at stand-up.
Big up Robert Henry Poet. Appreciate the $10 super chat. Yeah, that's amazing to hear about that with Annie Lederman. I think I had a couple people leaving some nice comments about Annie Lederman on the post that I made about Joe Rogan banning her. So I think from what I've been able to ascertain, how we spoke about it, we came to the conclusion that maybe Brendan is the one that lied to BGL when he said, because I think BGL was the one that relayed that back on the podcast, right? He said on the podcast he's heard firsthand that Joe Rogan's not going to have Annie Lederman back on the show. But maybe BGL heard it from Brendan, and Brendan maybe lied to BGL to kind of save face of the Trugwalt thing. Or maybe, you know, Joe just said it in a way of like, he just wanted to be away from those guys. So maybe he didn't really ban Annie. He just wanted to kind of, you know, have her stay over there a bit, let the drama die down, so when he invites her on the show, they're not just talking about the drama again, because he doesn't want to get involved in it. But everyone says she's really nice, and everyone that went to the show said, you know, she was giving out hugs and stuff. She's just like a real nice person to kind of speak to and to kind of interact with as a comedian. So that's pretty decent to see. And to be honest as well, she hasn't, the thing I like about Annie Lederman, personally for me, the thing I like about her, she didn't lean into the beef. She kind of just, you know, she let it kind of blow over. She wasn't really milking it. Like she could have milked it if she wanted to, but she kind of did let it lie a bit. So she kind of did give the guy a bit of grace. So I do big up her in that regard. So big up her, big up all that regard. Anyway, moving on back to the thing I said about, yeah, I rewatched the fight. Tommy Fury basically won, and if anything, this is proof that everybody that, I think very early on Jake's career in boxing, a lot of people were saying, again, this is kind of common sense, but a lot of people were saying that he's not going to be as good as a professional boxer ever, right? Because I think boxing is just one of those things that unless you start early, it's hard to kind of figure out how to become good at boxing later on in life. I think we've seen it already with Deontay Wilder, right? He's got a natural, you know, knockout power he's born with, but he started to box in a traditional way very, very late, kind of quote unquote in life, maybe in his teenage years. So to then to build up that kind of boxing IQ base is pretty difficult, but it can be done. But maybe it's even more difficult when you're in like your 20s or whatnot, if you're flipping Jake Paul. And a lot of people are saying he's not going to be able to fight professional people who get sparked out. But then we kept seeing all these fights he kept having with people. The Nate Robinson thing obviously being the biggest example. The Tyron Woodley thing being the big example in terms of what it looked like. That it gave us the wrong estimation of how good he was. Because he kept fighting these guys that we thought looked athletic, we thought looked strong and powerful, but they can't box. And a lot of people that said early on, commentators and pundits of boxing guys, purists, because they're quite, you know, they take the boxing very seriously, these guys. They all said from the beginning, without fail, if he fights anybody who's decent, who's a professional boxer, he's same weight class, same age, he's going to get destroyed. And I think what they said about Tommy Fury isn't even professional. He's like an amateur, right? Or something like that. So he's on his way to becoming proper professional. He's not even like a real good professional level. And he said that he would easily wipe the floor with him. And clearly that's what he did. And that's what basically happened. So I tried to apologize to everybody that I was basically arguing with on stream and talking about like how I thought Jake Paul won, because when I rewatched the fight, I was like, whoa, I was bugging out. Jake Paul got absolutely mollywopped. Like, it wasn't even close, really, to be fair. And if anything, if Tommy Fury did have a bit more knockout power in his punches, he could have maybe put Jake Paul out if he wanted to, but he still kind of pieced him up for the most part, lit his face up, and then, you know, the damage on Jake Paul's face after the fight really told the story. And somebody else said also in the stream, who said it? I think someone said before I heard that the fact that Tommy got knocked down, which was, you know, debate if you think it was a slip or a knockdown, but the fact that Tommy Fury got knocked down and still won on points shows you how far ahead he was on the points, because he got docked a point as well and he got knocked down, but he still won on points. So clearly he was already the favorites in the judges' eyes. So everybody that told me that Tommy won fair and square and it was clear and Jake didn't have a chance and I was arguing with, I apologize. My knowledge on boxing is as good as Brendan's knowledge on UFC. That was a terrible call. Jake Paul clearly lost, and I'm eager to see what the next chapter is going forward now, because a part of me thinks he also believed the gas, Jake. I think Jake believed the gas. I think he actually believed he could be pro level as well. I don't think that was the case. He was never going to be pro level. It was always going to be just this kind of fun exhibition fights to kind of get money and whatnot, and to kind of, you know, lean on the troll that everyone hates him and wants to see him knocked out. I think that was always the kind of the case, I'd reckon, because he made like 30 mil, didn't he? 20-30 mil. That's not bad, isn't it, for losing a fight? So if you could just keep doing this and kind of doubling up on the cash, he should be pretty much fine. But hey, it is what it is. It happened. Big up Tommy Fury. Obviously did a good job there. Big up, big up, big up, big up, big up. Moving on from that one quickly, I want to quickly mention this before I go into other stuff. Quickly talk about this, because I just remembered this. I don't know why I forgot to talk about this, but this is a clip taken from the TFATK channel. I know a lot of guys that, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but people don't like this guy's channel. Who's this guy here? TFATK. A lot of people don't really like the channel guy. I don't know what the deal is, but I don't know. I find the clips entertaining enough. They're pretty short and whatnot, but some people don't like his channel. But anyway, regardless, he's got this clip up. Sorry. Oh my God. He's got this clip up where he's talking about, the clip is from BGL interview with Red Bar. This is what started the entire BGL promo tour of kind of trashing on Brendan. And I forgot to mention this in my streams, but BGL here basically reveals how much money Brendan pays Bryan Callen, or how much money Bryan Callen gets from TFATK, which is weird to say that, right? You should be saying how much Bryan Callen gets from the Fire and the Kid, but because of how the dynamic has changed between the both of them, it's definitely more a case of how much money Brendan pays Bryan, right? Because Brendan is definitely Brendan's boss. They're no longer partners or anything in this little partnership they've got going on here. So this is really interesting, because this is a clip where BGL reveals how much Brendan gets monthly, and this maybe makes a lot more sense as to why Brendan is so cucked for Brendan, and why it makes every excuse under the sun for him, doesn't necessarily see his faults, and essentially was willing to bury his friendship with Bobby Lee in favor of Brendan, because essentially that guy's been paying his mortgage, his rent, his car bill, you know, he's flipping, you know, restaurant bills for a very, very, very long time. And this is the clip I'm taken from the TFATK channel.
Interesting. Where is, because the Fighter and the Kids numbers are getting pretty low. Bryan's Patreon numbers are pretty low. My biggest wonderment, I'm always wondering. I'm a big gossip queen. I'm always wondering. I wonder where he's getting the money to afford this lifestyle that he set up with the ex-wife, with the kids. Was Fighter and the Kid bringing in a lot of money currently while you were working with them?
I don't really know the finances. My understanding was Bryan got a flat fee,
okay,
of $25K a month or something like that. That's coming from Brendan, so take that.
$25K a month, okay.
But and then Brendan would take the rest. I really don't know. Like, it's just it's honestly not something that I think that much about. But I would say that probably a decent source of income for him. They still do a lot of ad reads, so even I know. Here's the thing: is like, that lags. You know what I mean? Like, if your views are going down, but you still have a sponsorship deal with, a Happy Hippo Kratom or something like that, it's not like it's dependent each month on views. But, if you have...
They're still giving you the same fee regardless of if your views are dipping?
Right, because you would negotiate like a 6-month term or a year-long term.
Okay.
But then they're like, well, you didn't quite reach as many eyeballs as you projected, so we're going to have to renegotiate.
$25K a month. That's nearly
He's got my thumbnail. Big up TFATK for using that. Big up. But
reach as many eyeballs as you projected, so we're gonna have to renegotiate.
25.
But yeah, 25k per month. This makes a lot more sense why Bryan Callen takes all that abuse from Brendan on a daily basis, disrespect, cucking, and just, you know, sticks up for him, you know, probably more than his actual family, right? He sticks up more for Brendan Schaub than he stuck up or tried to fight for his marriage. He sticks up way more for Brendan Schaub than any other thing under the sun. He really loves the guy, but it makes a lot more sense if he's getting paid 25k a month, because you'd imagine over the course of Bryan Callen's career, you know, he's gone up and down in terms of notoriety, popularity, fame, and whatnot. He probably hasn't had a stable income in a long time, right? The nature of being an actor or a comedian actor, or a presenter, a host, all that sort of stuff, I would imagine it's pretty unpredictable. You can't really, you know, depend on the kind of money you're going to be getting. But if from the start of TFATK pulling in numbers, they were always consistently getting like 5k, 10, 15, 20, 25, and now it's kind of, you know, maybe 50 in the real heyday, and now sort of like leveled out to 25, and they get that on a consistent monthly basis. It would make a lot more sense why Bryan is so willing to jump out the window for Brendan and to really kind of throw it all away and risk it all to defend that man, because essentially, like I said, he's been paying and supporting that man for a long time. Now, my personal theory has always been, my personal humble theory has always been, and because I've always, you know, had a little think in my head thinking that, how this, especially after the whole divorce settlement thing came out, it's like, Jesus, and you know, the R-word allegation, like how can you like sustain all of that sort of stuff, innit? And my initial kind of idea behind it was as follows. I thought that if you're Bryan Callen and you got a really rich dad, right, a really rich dad, like a guy that's made a lot of money, he's worked in banking, you know, his entire life, you know, read his obituary, read his biography. You can find it online if you do your Googles, but he's very, very wealthy. If that's the case, and I'm a big believer, and, you know, Brian's always told this joke about, you know, I think him and his sister saying something like, you know, they're going to call dad to get money or something. This was, it's kind of, it was a running joke they used to do before on TFATK, but I've always had the theory that Bryan has got a trust fund, or has got some sort of allowance that he gets. And that's what basically affords him the luxury to kind of do what he does, because for somebody who is like, what is he? Bryan Callen's like mid-50s. He's got alimony to pay. He's got 2 kids who are still way under 16, I think. So that's a long time to kind of support them technically on paper by like a court judgment in terms of child support. And I think the alimony was something crazy, like 20 grand a month or something. It was really, really nuts. I might actually try and get that up actually to see what Bryan Callen's alimony payment was. But I'm pretty sure it was a crazy amount. Bryan Callen, alimony. Let's see what this says here. Oh, God almighty. Okay, it was 20k a month according to TMC. Holy shit. Okay, so my man's got 20k a month to pay. You've got your income going down because of the R-word allegations, and then you get another woman pregnant who then becomes your wife, and then you have to obviously support that person. And from what I've seen online, again, don't know much about the lady, but she looks like the type that probably, you know, doesn't mind not working. So if that's the case, then you have to look after 2 families basically, and you don't have the opportunities that you had previously, right? I'm pretty sure, you know, Bryan Callen's not going to be in The Joker 2. Let's just say that. Even in cameo, it's not going to happen anytime soon. His Hollywood acting career, comedic career is basically over, because for the most part, production companies are really nervous about people that get cancelled. They just don't want anything to do with it. And if that guy, Armie Hammer, who, you know, so what, he's a cannibal. So what, he might like to eat people and that's his kink, but essentially that's all he basically did, right? He just, he basically got a bit of a creepy kink going on, and maybe he freaked out some of the hoes. But if Armie Hammer looked good looking as a man as he is, right? Because Armie Hammer's an absolute smoke show of an absolute, you know, of a white man, right? That's a very, very, there he is, right? That's a very, very good looking white guy. As you can see from my search history, I'm looking at him, right? If he's finding it hard to get back into Hollywood and he only eats people, can you imagine how hard it's going to be from flipping Bryan Callen, who R-words people allegedly, to get back into Hollywood? It's going to be pretty impossible. If he does get back in there, congratulations to Bryan Callen. If he manages to get his way back into Hollywood, I give him all the props. But if he doesn't, you have to support 2 families on the income of a stand-up comedian and also podcaster. So my honest theory behind it was that either podcasting pays way more than we kind of think it does, right? The money in there is really crazy, which I think it still is. I think, you know, a good sponsor and a good ad can get you a long way. I think I said before that I remember listening to Jerry a lot before the Spotify deal, and basically reading between the lines from other comedians who like to gossip and Joe Rogan himself. Before the Spotify deal, it was kind of widely known that Joe was making anywhere between like 30 mil to 70 mil a year from the show, right? And that was from just, you know, the show just running as it is, and that wasn't including whatever he gets on ad reads. That was just from the show just generating what it did before he went to Spotify and signed that exclusivity deal. So you can imagine what the ad read. You know, if you listen to old JRE, he had tons of ads. He had tons of ads at the start. You had a few ads in the middle, a few ads in the end. Like all those ads, you kind of, you know, you usually get a chunk, a big kind of sizable chunk that you kind of get given beforehand. So that makes a lot more sense. So in conclusion, I thought Bryan Callen always had a flipping trust fund, or maybe he gets an allowance from his dad. Even in his mid-50s, I think that's definitely will be the case. You know, there'll be a reason why he's going to keep it quiet, because his whole stick is being a real man and stuff. So probably it's a part of him that's not the most proudest, that he's in his mid-50s, and he basically has to ask his dad for money to basically fund his lifestyle. But I imagine that be the case in that some regard. And also happened to see that maybe TFATK does really pay pretty well also, that can kind of cover his nut. But it does explain in general why Bryan is so defensive over Brendan, because Brendan has been the only consistent in his career. Weirdly enough, as redacted as Brendan is, he's actually been the only consistent thing in Bryan Callen's career over a long period of time, especially when it comes to making good income. And I'd imagine in Hollywood, with how, you know, transient that whole that world is, people coming in and out, unpredictability, to have something that legitimately gives you a general amount of money over time is a real privilege, and something that you don't take for granted. So it's no surprise that, you know, Brenda's holding his chest, Bryan's there patting his back and pouring him water and indulging in his lies and whatnot, because hey, you know, you got to know where your bread's buttered, innit? You have to know where your bread's buttered. So I completely understand that one. I completely understand this one. So quickly move on from that. We'll talk about this. Let me see if I can get the clip up. I think talking about where is it? Oh, did I have it on here? I hate when I don't organize this stuff properly. Bear with me 1 second if I can see where I got this. Where is it? Yeah, let's quickly play this one. I thought this was interesting, right?
I was just
that is a thing.
Sorry, I keep forgetting this. What people are saying in the chat. My apologies here. Let me quickly read what you guys are saying in the chat. Is Red Bar's hair a wig? Space Kai. I don't know, to be honest. I've heard someone in the comments said recently as well, like if you look at his hair on a certain angle, you can tell it's a wig because it doesn't grow in a certain place. I don't know how white people's hair grow, to be fair, I don't really know how white people's hair grow. So I don't know if it is a wig. Maybe you guys can tell better than me. But someone in my comments did say something about the corners, you can tell how it grows, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I've never really noticed, to be fair. But maybe it is a wig. If anything, the person who I always thought had a wig or had like a fake mustache was ERIK Griffin. Remember ERIK Griffin, when ERIK Griffin had this look? Hopefully you guys remember this. I'm glad he grew it out and stopped doing it, but I remember when ERIK Griffin used to walk around like this. Let's see, ERIK. Oh, bloody hell, type that properly. ERIK Griffin, right? ERIK Griffin used to walk around looking like this. Do you guys remember? Right? He used to walk around looking like this, like legitimately, like this would be his look. And I think the reason why he did this was because I guess his character in Workaholics had the similar look, right? That's why he kept doing this. Like, I don't know why he did this, why he persisted with this look. This Mr. Potato Man look thing was really bizarre. But I always thought, when I used to see ERIK Griffin, I used to think the mustache was fake, because it just looked so like heavily dyed. Like, and that's before I realized, oh, he dyed his mustache. And obviously, you know, just to kind of match the, you know, dyeing the hair as well, because now he kind of lets the grey go through. And I think the grey as well, because, you know, ERIK Griffin looks like the kind of guy who would immediately change his whole life for a girl. But I know when I've seen a guy, when a girl gives you a compliment about something that you didn't even notice, that was a good thing. And I think one day or 1 week or 1 month, because, you know, I don't know what ERIK Griffin's mix is. Is ERIK Griffin mixed with black or Arab? I don't know what his mix is, but regardless, he looks like a hairy dude. You can see by the hair popping out of his wrist. So I'm sure 1 week or 1 day he didn't shave, and some of his hair was growing on his face, and his grays were coming through. And his girlfriend probably said, "Hey man, that looks really good, babe. Don't cut it." And then since that day, he's never cut it again. Right? So for sure, that's why he kept growing out his beard. But I always thought Eric Griffin's mustache was fake. I legitimately always thought that. I was thinking, like, why would somebody like legit? Why would like a guy like want to look like this going out? Why would you want to like actually look like this? Like, for sure. Like, why would you groom yourself in this way? Why? Like, don't you have any friends? Like, don't you see yourself in the mirror? This has to be fake. I legitimately thought that was the case. I legitimately thought that was the case. But yeah, it's not fake. But yeah, big up Uche, big up Uche in the chat. Big up everybody else joining in. But I thought his one was fake personally, but you know, it isn't fake, and I take it back. Anyway, back to the stream chat again. The facts, Fury was gonna win no matter what. Paul is trash as Rishi. See, everybody else knew Jake Paul was gonna lose apart from me. I guess I was so nervous with Tommy again. I'm not even familiar with the guy. I don't even watch Live Island, but he just comes across as such a decent dude, like nice. And I guess the way he treats his woman as well is quite admirable. Like, he seems like a real stand-up kind of guy. And I just didn't want to see him get knocked out and turn into a meme. That's my only thing. I was thinking, man, that'd be so out of order that the nice guy gets knocked out by the guy that everyone hates on the internet and he gets turned into a meme. And the memes won't stop. So I'm glad he didn't lose in that way. But yeah, I guess everyone else knew that Jake Paul was gonna lose apart from me, because I was operating from fear. But yeah, what I was saying here, Bryan would have to, what's here, Robert Henry Post saying Bryan would either have to have one of the hottest podcasts in the world, or at least become one of the hottest comedians in this country to find financial security at this point. I doubt either happens. Yeah, but that's the thing though, Robert Henry Poet, I just think his dad's got so much money, it doesn't matter. That guy was working for Citibank in like the 70s and the 80s and shit. I think it's Citibank or Bank of America. One of them ones. Like, he's established. He went over, I think if the story, I think in his biography, something like he was like the Middle Eastern guy. Like, whenever they wanted to kind of move over to the Middle East, he's the one that set up the whole operation there, led that whole thing. Like, he's like on a level of like a lawyer in like who's partnered at, you know, a law firm. He's like established, you know what I mean? He's one of the founding members of a flipping hedge fund, that kind of thing. So he's got good money. He's got that long money. So Bryan Callen's fine, to be honest. And to be fair as well, to carry on with the Bryan Callen thing, he's also somebody that never really strikes me as somebody that's like, maybe it's just how he comes across, but maybe because he grew up rich, but he never looks like he's desperate or frantic. Like, he never looks like he's stressed for money. He looks really calm, despite the fact that legitimately his Hollywood career is over, right? You'd imagine, even with his age, like, when is he going to get uncancelled? It'd be too late. It'd be like, he's like, what, in his 70s or something? It's going to take him a long time to come back. You know, even Kevin Spacey, he got found innocent in a court of law, right? And he's a really, really good actor. And some people still think he might have did what he was accused of doing, Kevin Spacey. And he's finding it hard to get back in to do major roles, because it's not because you're not good when it comes to Hollywood and getting cancelled. That's the issue when it comes to counterculture in that Hollywood industry. It's not that you're not good at what you do. It's that the production companies and whatnot just don't want to take the gamble of hiring you for a job, paying you for it, and then having the whole press tour around the show turn into you having to try to explain or apologize for something that you did or didn't do. And it comes to a shit show, and it negatively affects how your film, TV series gets received, and then suddenly now, you know, you're not able to have a fair crack at making any money back that you invested in what you did. So it just doesn't make any financial sense to kind of bet on these people, so they just avoid it really in that regard. But yeah, let's see what happens in it. Maybe he'll survive it, who knows. We'll have to kind of check it out when it does happen. I want to quickly just play this. Where is it, if I can see it? Bear with me 1 second. Oh yeah, this is the one. So let's quickly play this one. So this clip is somebody just clipped this recently from the Fire and the Kids subreddit. So big up whoever clipped this. I do appreciate you. Actually, I think the username's here. I almost had a username. I don't want to air people out. But anyway, you know who did it on the Fire and the Kids subreddit. Thank you for posting that. This is a clip of Brendan on the Howie Mandel podcast. I guess they've somehow built some sort of friendship, which is weird, I think, because I felt like Howie Mandel, the first time he went on the show, was kind of shitting on them. Then when he went on the Fight Companion, it seemed when he went on the Fight Companion, it seemed like he was shitting on Brendan again, obviously with the sink piss stuff, which I'm going to cover in a little bit. But now he's welcome back on the show, and I don't know, maybe it's just like a Hollywood thing. They all like the attention. I just don't understand why somebody as famous and as well known as Howie Mandel, why he'd even want to, be interviewing these guys. Like, what's the deal there? I don't really get it. But anyway, regardless, he seems to like them anyway. He seems to have a good time, and he invited Brendan on his show. I guess it's maybe what people do. You just swap, appearances or paying money, and just come on your show, you go on my show, blah blah blah. And they're talking about the money you can make on podcasts, and this might go to further solidify my point that maybe the TFATK podcast, regardless of what we may think of it and how it might have dropped in quality over the years, the point remains that it's probably still pulls in a decent amount of money, which is why they do it, because it's the one thing both of them don't want to quit. They're still kind of churning it out, even though the chemistry between Brendan and Bryan's terrible. They clearly don't get along as well. They're not having any fun. The dynamic has changed, and they still churn out these half-assed podcasts every single week. So clearly there's money in it.
Comedy, or you got into podcasting.
Yes.
You guys got into podcasting pretty early.
Yeah, Fine Kids been going almost 11 years now, before everyone and their aunt had a podcast. And now, there's no barrier to entry, so now it's just blown up.
But having been there that long, you kind of established roots like nobody else. Is it good? It's probably great money.
It's good money, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not making great money doing this.
Really?
But I don't care about money.
I find it hilarious, right? Number one, I find the hilarious part of it is Brendan kind of bemoaning the fact that there's no barrier to entry. I find it absolutely hilarious. For somebody that was, basically got to jump over the barrier with two people holding his feet up in Bryan, Callen, and Joe Rogan, to say there's no barrier of entry is absolutely hilarious. To kind of look down on people who just kind of made it just from, I don't know, turning on their phone or something. Cool, interesting. But the money thing, I think it's something people don't really want to accept, especially some homeless cats. They don't want to accept the fact, because I think there are some homeless cats out there who do maybe secretly hope that the Friday Kid podcast kind of like, just goes nosedives into the ground, and it kind of blows up, and they both have to kind of get normal jobs, and Brendan has to hold pads in some Muay Thai gym somewhere, and Bryan Callen has to go resort to being a front of house person at some restaurant in Beverly Hills or something, right? That's what people think is going to happen. But I've always been under the illusion that it's more entertaining and way more fun to just point and laugh at these guys and not wish that much ill will on them. And also the fact of the matter is they're never going to have to work a regular job ever in their lives. Like, they both got in early enough in podcasting, the same way people on YouTube. Look at people like Dark Side Film, Wings, Redemption, and Boogie I mentioned before. Those guys are still around now begging and pleading for tips because, or even just sustaining themselves from AdSense, because they got into YouTube really early on. You could basically ride that wave, as long as you keep consistently putting out videos. It's not gonna be the same amount of viewerships, but if your pride can deal with a dip in viewers, you can still make a decent amount of income that will allow you not to have to work a regular job, or maybe just get a part-time job. That's basically a win. But I don't ever see them ever failing. Number one, because Brendan's relationship with Joe Rogan, and the fact that I always felt like Joe Rogan kind of silently told himself that he maybe regretted how, because Joe Rogan actually said on the podcast once that he regretted how he approached Brendan about the whole retiring thing, and telling him that you'd be surprised you'd fuck your shit up and whatever. He told him of quitting the UFC. But I think once that podcast aired, Joe Rogan promised, kind of told himself that he would do everything in his power to make sure Brendan got back on his feet. Like, he didn't want to ever have Brendan like looking fucked up out here after quitting the UFC because of what he said. So he went out of his way to help him, which would explain why Brendan's got the most appearances on the JRE. Partly, it would explain it. Like, they got really close really quickly. Joe Rogan kind of went super ham to try and make sure Brendan was all right because he felt bad about that conversation. That is one thing. They got into podcasting early, and also the ads thing with podcasts is really messed up, unfortunately. Because because I've noticed, even on my little channel that I have, right, very small channel, my views fluctuate depending on what I talk about. Clearly people like to hear me talk about the comedy stuff. When I talk about my own stuff that I'm actually interested in terms of the podcast I like to do, the Action Singer Show, in terms of the fashion and the music and the whatever, the views completely dip and stuff. But even I've seen on my channel that once you hit a particular amount of views steadily on your videos, you start getting emails from people, from companies offering you things. And most of the stuff I've been getting is pretty, whatever. It's like, headphones and, maybe some fake Chinese site that sells fake trainers, wants you to promote something. I don't know, whatever it may be. It's something super interesting, but you get them immediately. You don't even have to go out there and reach out to them. So I'd imagine this works the same way with these ads. They have a system in place where they kind of viewing certain podcasts or certain content creators that have a particular amount of views. So I think that system is broken. because clearly if you buy fake views, you can make it look like your podcast is popping. Then you can leverage those fake views into getting ads, into getting sponsors. And from what we've heard from BGL, those things run on like a lapse, and they're also long term. So you can get a 6-month contract that runs 1 month ahead of time, kind of thing. So essentially you're always kind of riding off of the success of a previous amount of views that you got. So if you're smart, every money you get paid from these guys ads, so imagine if they're giving you a flat fee of 30k from like Rain energy drinks or whatnot or wherever else, you could use part of that money to put into buying likes and views on your videos to kind of keep the numbers popping up. It's obviously not going to do well for your algorithm, and it's going to tank your channel over time, which you've seen obviously with the Fire and the Kid. But if you actually want to make money and put some money in your pocket, be able to live in a nice house, drive a nice car, put your kids through school, it's a good way to kind of secure early income there and then and whatnot, and leverage that to other opportunities. So it's no surprise that this pod makes so much money, in my opinion. It's no surprise. It's no surprise. Definitely no surprise. And I think people kind of need to accept the fact that this podcasters in general that are semi-popular within that Jerry extended universe, they make really, really good money, which is why a lot of those guys kind of get lazy with stand-up. They don't do specials as often. Or if they do them, they do them begrudgingly. They don't put much effort into them because they can make way more just sitting in a chair I'm doing and interviewing their friends or interviewing people that they find interesting, because it just is way more lucrative than anything else they do. So I'm not surprised at the money that's being made here, and I'm also not surprised that Brendan would be so, honest and say, yeah, we make a lot of money. It's good money, very, very good money. And obviously Howie Mandel, because he's not really, plugged into that side of things really well, he obviously doesn't know. But I guess we now know why also he's been appearing on all these shows, right? He kind of is trying to get himself in the conversation, get some ads in there and whatnot, and obviously kind of sail into the flipping sunset. So I can definitely understand that one going into that one. So moving on. Let's talk about this. What people are saying here. We're saying in the chat here. Fish says click on insane. There's a fish that he hasn't been diarrhea, so I guess. The ring said, is this not suspicious he hasn't been there, the solo guest? You mean Brendan? Maybe not. I think he was there recently to promote special, wasn't it? I don't think it's that suspicious. I think Brendan's just not in Texas. If he was in Texas often, Joe would have him on. I think this idea that Joe hates Brendan is ridiculous. He doesn't. He has this thing about his friends and being loyal to them. My friends hold them down. So I don't think that's going to ever be happening. A thing about them ever not falling out, to be honest. Not in my opinion. Anyway, another video to talk about here. This is again courtesy of the Homeless Cat subreddit. It features what's his face? I forgot his name, man. I forgot his name again. But the guy that used to be on Your Mum's House with the really thick glasses. Josh, was it Josh Potter? Is that his name, Josh Potter? I think so. I'm not too sure. Anyway, he sat down with a young lady who might be also a comedian. I'm not too sure. And they had the conversation regarding Chris D'Elia and his DMs. And she basically admitted that she had, consensual adult fun with Chris D'Elia, and just spoke about how quickly he responds to the DMs, which maybe should be a warning sign for all the women out there, right? Who are chasing guys online. If he replies back to you within like a second of getting the DM, maybe you should be wary of engaging in any sort of adult fun, unless you like that kind of thing, unless you like to, creep and play in traffic and shit. But yeah, this is a clip.
That is a fan.
Thing.
That
and
is
I
a
was
thing.
just, I mean, yeah, when I first got hit up by D'Elia or any of the comedians, I was just like
almost choked.
I didn't even have like a large.
Or any of the comedians. Are these comedians just like, what? So what are comedians doing then? Do they search for their names online? Then if they see a cute girl, they reach out to them and say, hey, what's up? Or are they waiting for these cute girls to jump into their DMs? I guess it's probably the first thing I said, right? You just search for your name and stuff, and you might see someone mentioning you. Or these days, because people like clout, they might mention you in their story so that you can reshare them. And if you see on their profile picture they look hot, then you might just creep into their DMs. I'm not too sure, but it's hilarious regardless.
Following, I was just like,
these niggas are so horny. so horny. Comedians are horny. Like if you were a really attractive girl, or a girl that guys want to fuck, you could probably get a lot out of the scene if you don't mind, degrading yourself in that respect. No, not even degrading yourself. If you're somebody that doesn't mind feeling dirty, like you don't have to do anything with the guys. You just kind of play them on, kind of play them like little puppets and stuff, you could get quite a lot out of these guys if you're smart. You could get a lot out of them. Like, you know, wax their ego, tell them how smart they are, ask them their opinions on politics, ask them what they think about COVID and face masks and shit, right? Like, ask them who they vote for Trump, like, ask them all those things, and you could definitely get a long way.
20, yeah, we are aware he does answer DMs pretty at a rapid pace. I understand from what I
yes.
So I'd imagine he went right to the top of the list.
And got some.
Just put us at horny too, right? You went top. I can see your nipples from here, baby girl. You went straight to the top. Yeah.
Free tickets. Had some intercourse.
Do you have a positive experience?
Like, I don't have a.
Anytime somebody asks a girl about another guy and she says, "Hey, do you have a positive experience?" Which is the most polite way to say, "Was the sex good?" And she goes, and then looks up. It's probably a good representation of it was bad, isn't it? Like, it probably is a good representation. It's bad. Like, and looks up. She doesn't immediately go, "Oh my god, he was amazing," right? "Oh my god," right? She doesn't do all that. You know, it was terrible.
A reason to cancel him, but it was definitely like a weird experience.
Yeah, I mean, seems like it from what I've come across in the readings and things like that, and some videos and such.
But I will say, the one thing people always ask me, I'm like, yes, it was all consensual.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, okay, that's fine.
It was weird, but it was consensual.
Do you think somebody who is not as, I mean, you have then since gone on to obviously do pornography.
Yeah.
Do you think somebody who, like, you know.
Okay, cool. I didn't know she was a Zone star. So that's hilarious, number one, right? And everything I wanted to point out, again, I'm sure we've all got our different tastes in women, and she's obviously clearly a very pretty girl in her own right. But am I off base in saying, apart from let's not throw aside, but let's put to one side all the allegations that Crystalia has of diddling kids. That's not something I even want to entertain. Let's just not even talk about that. But don't you guys find it a little bit interesting, just as an observation, that all the girls that Crystalia has been linked with, who've accused him what they've accused him of, who've come out and said they've had a relationship with him, none of them look the same. They all look very different. There's nothing that kind of ties them together. Not in terms of like personality or anything. They just look like randoms, like complete randoms. Legit, there's like nothing tying them together. Because you know, sometimes you see a serial killer thing, it's like there's same color hair, maybe same complexion, maybe same background. They all look very, very different. Like, there's nothing. Maybe the only thing I could say is that the tattoos are similar, right? They've all got like tattoos and stuff. So maybe he likes girls that like kind of look a bit edgy and whatnot. I'm not really too sure, but he doesn't really like have a particular type, really. Oh yeah, someone suspect, young, white, and skinny. Yeah, maybe that is the one thing, but apart from that, he's down for anything, like basically in that way, shape, or form. Which I'm not sure if that makes him scarier, if that makes more sense. I don't really know. But that was the only thing that kind of came to me. I was like, she doesn't look like any of the other girls, does she? She looks very different. Like, even her demeanor and stuff, like, it's all kind of just, like, I don't know. Like, how do you go from the thing I'm thinking about in my head, right? Because I'd imagine if this lady is now a porn star, most likely she has very loose and kind of free opinions on what it comes to sex and stuff, right? She doesn't really care too much. She's not really kind of uptight. She's not someone that cares too much about, whether or not she's going to fuck you on the first date or not. It's up or it's up, regardless with her. But the thing that I'm thinking of is that her personality doesn't really match the same as those two girls that were speaking. Remember there was those, in the documentaries, an account of those two girls that basically got drunk on like shitty vodka on a train over to come see Dalia, and they were clearly like, really young looking, and he took them straight up to his hotel to try and fuck, and they were really like young. I was just kind of in awe of Crystalia because he's a celebrity. Like, what makes you want to fuck that kind of girl, like a girl that just graduated from high school, and what then wants to make you want to fuck a girl like this who's clearly a little bit more sexually experienced, right, and grown up? Like, there's nothing that ties those together, you'd imagine, right? Because I'd think in my weird head, or in my simple brain, the guy that likes the really young the really young unexperienced type would also not be the type of guy that wants to date a girl that's on her way to be a porn star. They're not the same person mentally, you would imagine. Or maybe they are. Who knows? But regardless, I thought that was rather interesting to hear her see what she said. She didn't really give a glowing review of his ability to get down in the sack, which again maybe is another telling sign. You know, a lot of these flipping guys that have these sexual proclivities aren't necessarily the greatest lovers, the greatest companions, or even just like hangs. Because I remember that was another thing as well I mentioned. Yeah, exactly. Bodybuild. What's his face? Sorry, I forgot, my name is blanking out here. Bodybuilding.news. You got a good point there. This might mean that he's a legit sex addict, because I remember that's what I remember reading. Was I reading it? I'm gonna say I was reading it. Russell Brand's first autobiography, when he spoke about his sex addiction. I remember that being a thing that made me understand what sex addiction was about. Because I remember him saying his sex addiction got so bad that he remembers, I think he fucked some old lady or something. Like, it was like a random thing. Like, someone was showing him to his hotel room or something, and he just pinned up against a wall and stuff and just started smashing her and stuff. And she was like a ridiculously old lady, really, not attractive in the slightest. And I think he maybe he's the one that planted the seed in my head about none of his sexual conquests had any sort of like theme. Nothing tied them women together. Just girls he just wanted to kind of, get involved with because he had to kind of scratch that itch of his addiction. So maybe that's why there's no kind of rhyme or reason as to why he's with certain people or why he hooks up with certain people. They just all kind of look completely random. I don't really know. But yeah, I find it all rather interesting to hear. But yeah, like I said before, it's really interesting that she doesn't give a glowing review of his presence in the bedroom. Maybe because of the documentary, she doesn't want to add to the noise. I'm not really too sure. But I thought that was rather interesting to kind of comment on, just for the sake of commenting on it, innit? Just for the sake. Let me restart this chat up on this side as well, because for whatever reason, I think it's frozen now. Has it? Is it frozen? It looks like it might be frozen. Where did it froze somewhere here. Oh, where is it? Yeah, it froze quite a while back, innit? So let me just restart. I think I might have to reinstall it and start it again, wherever, for flipping thing, because it always does this. My chatbot, it will just always sort of freeze out of nowhere. But anyway, I'll restart it. It should be fine. So let's move on from that one. And let's talk about what we got to talk about this. Oh yeah, let's start from the top, because I keep messing up my flipping topics, right? So let's go from this. Let's go and talk about the fentanyl thing. So this is a bit of a controversial opinion in that regards. I hope some of you guys who maybe have some real life issues around this won't get offended and won't think I'm being ignorant or naive about this, but this just popped in my head and I just wanted to share it with you guys. So I'm sure some of you guys have seen this. About the Florida judge issuing an arrest warrant for Kodak Black about alleged positive fentanyl test. And obviously this will mean that he's been using drugs, right? Because I guess with his release from jail, part of the conditions was that he couldn't use certain things. Maybe this shows that he's, back on doing whatever gear he was on beforehand, whether it's Percocets, whether it's meth, whether it's coke, who knows. But for sure that would be it. Or maybe he just enjoys the taste of fentanyl. But anyway, regardless, the article says a judge in Broward County, Florida issued an arrest warrant for rapper Kodak Black after he allegedly failed to submit a drug test, then tested positive for fentanyl in a violation of his release conditions. You know what's really interesting? Broward County has got a really bad reputation, because anytime I hear of Broward County, I always think of crimes and rappers getting in trouble and shootouts and stuff. I don't know if that's actually what it's like, but Broward County, that's what always I get the notion of. So it's got some really bad PR because of all of these guys. Black people win again. It continues. The new arrest warrant, which was obtained by ABC News Miami affiliate WPLG, follows Black's 2019 guilty plea related to federal firearms offenses. President Donald Trump commuted his sentence after Black served half of it. Black was also charged in 2002 with drug trafficking, right? Kodak Black, Yak, is still one of my favorite rappers out at the moment, so I don't want to hear any slander about him personally. So if you got any slander, please move it along. Yak forever. Black, whose legal name is Bill Capri, Kill Capri, imagine that was his name. Bill Capri was originally charged with 1 count of drug trafficking in 2022 after he was found with 14 to 24 grams of oxycodone. Yo, he's a real gremlin, isn't it? He's an actual gremlin. I fucking love Kodak, man. 14 to 24 grams of oxys is fucking insane, according to the arrest warrant, all for personal use. All right. The warrant signed by the judge in February 17th, filed Thursday, alleges Black failed to submit to random drugs tests on February the 3rd, 2023. It was unclear from the court records whether Black had been detained after the new warrant was issued. According to the affidavit, followed by the Broward County Sheriff's Office, a test taken by Black 5 days later tested positive for fentanyl, which violated the condition of release of a 2022 traffic offences. Black was sentenced to 46 months in prison in 2019 for weapons charges, including pleading guilty for making false statements when buying firearms. In one of his final moves as president, Donald Trump granted commission for Black, citing his philanthropic. The showbism's containing me. The CDE, including supporting unprivileged children and giving 50,000 donation to Barstool Sports founder Dave Portnoy's fund for small businesses impacted by the pandemic. See, Dave Portnoy can't be racist. He supports black businessmen, you know? Since his release, Black has released multiple songs, including Lyrics such as Back to Everything, which peaked #2 on the Billboard. Now, I just want to say this for sure. When it comes to fentanyl violations and drugs and stuff, I've kind of had enough with demonization of fentanyl. I really have. I think that to this point now, we've all seen the videos of the police officers having seizures when they allegedly touch some fentanyl in a car boot, which I still have some skeptical hippo eyes about. I think those cops are just basically people that don't want to be dealing with fentanyl thing and want to maybe put pressure on their, state or their police chiefs to maybe get fentanyl to be classed as certain. I don't know. There's some sort of conspiracy going on there. I don't believe those things are true. I don't think you can kind of inhale fentanyl from just a bag and you start flipping seizures on the floor. It kind of reminds you of those flipping, COVID denier people who say if you take the flipping vaccine, you start shaking and stuff, weirdly. I just think it's fucking ridiculous. Anyway, regardless, we know the dangers of fentanyl as a drug. We know the dangers of fentanyl when you cut it with other drugs. At this point, if you're willingly taking drugs, you have to assume a bit of risk. And if you're a grown-up with all your mental faculties in place, you have to be given license to just throw your life away. You should be allowed to throw your life away if you want to. If you legitimately want to take the risk of buying coke from a random person you don't know, from smoking meth from a random person you don't know, from doing crack, this time from even smoking weed, I'm hearing they're putting flipping fentanyl in weed and shit. If you're willing to do all that stuff, you have to assume the risk. And I think all this demonization of fentanyl and trying to come down on it with the ban hammer and get people put in prison for it and get them in rehab for it and demonizing for it, it just doesn't do anything. Because if anything, if you want to do drugs, no matter how much fentanyl is cut in your stuff, you'll keep doing them. I listened to some podcasts. I listened to quite a few, but some of them are not that big, so I don't want to mention them and cut clips about them and then have people kind of hound people out and stuff. I'll just keep it to myself. But I remember hearing a couple of people on podcasts say that Kay Quigley woman, the woman that was involved in that really crazy incident where she was on tour, I think with her boyfriend at the time, and a couple of people that maybe her openers or people that she did stand up with, I think it was like 4 or 5 of them. They went back to her house or the Airbnb they were staying in. They had a little afters out, there, bought some gear, some coke and stuff, some drinks, doing lines, having some fun. And then, unfortunately, the coke that they bought was cut with fentanyl. And if I'm not mistaken, everyone in that house died apart from Kate Quigley. So all 4 people that she was with, or 3, whoever else that was in there, they all passed away from an overdose of flipping drug overdose, obviously, with the coke laced with fentanyl. And obviously she had to kind of wake up in the middle of a flipping hangover thinking the friends are sleeping, only to discover they're all dead because of the coke they had previously. And obviously she went through, crazy amount of depression, you would imagine, grief, whatever, stricken, your boyfriend dies, your 2 best friends die in comedy, blah, blah, blah. Really, really tragic stuff. But I've heard from guys on podcasts kind of in a joking way, which I think is not a joke, that she's back out doing coke again. Like, legitimately, this person who witnessed like her friends die right in front of her is out there doing coke again. So clearly it proves that, it doesn't matter how tragic the circumstances are. If you want to get off and if you want to kind of let loose, if you want to kind of let your hair down, no matter what's gone on before, no matter what the damage you've seen prior, you're still going to go back to do it. So I think at this point, if people want to do their gear, let them do their gear. Honestly, let them do their gear. Like, I've just had enough of this demonization of drugs and stuff when it comes to sort of stuff and this babying. Some people don't want to be babied. Some people want to lose their life. I had the same opinion during COVID. I never understood this whole 0 deaths in COVID. Like, some countries were like, oh, we're going to have 0 deaths. When are you going to open up when no one's dead? It's like, bruh, people are going to be dying from this all the time. People die from crossing the road. People die from using a pencil the wrong way. Like, people are dumb, and some people just, their time is their time. It just is what it is. Just let people be. And if they want to willingly take drugs and assume the risk, because I think you have to also assume COVID caused a lot of these issues, right? The COVID lockdown times, a lot of law enforcement, especially anti-drug people, they took advantage of people being locked down, and they were able to see so much stuff, bust a lot of drugs and gangs and cartels. Obviously, if you read the news, you would know about I forgot the app. There's a particular app that all the drug dealers were using is to talk to each other. The police infiltrated it, set up a sting operation, and took out so many brokers, so many wholesalers, wherever they are, and took them off. So that's why the flow of drugs kind of was a bit, fucked up for a while, which is what basically led to fentanyl increase in usage, because fentanyl just increases the potency of what you're kind of selling. And clearly it's a better cut than using some other thing you're going to use. So, it gives them kind of the incentive to do it. And obviously it's highly addictive. So if that's the case, and we all know it now, there's many documentaries out there about it, just let people do what they're going to do. I know it's fucked up. I know it hurts. I know addiction is really serious, whatever it may be. But I just think at this point, there's too much resources out there for you to kind of willfully make that decision and then be like surprised when you happen to be in a bad spot. Let people do their drugs. Let people do their things. Leave them alone. It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, just leave them alone. Leave them alone. I think it's just, I've had enough of the demonization of this stuff and the trying to, we're going to put him to rehab. He's going to really learn his lesson. It's like, no, he won't. If he wants to do the gear, he'll do the gear. Please, let's just relax. And also, look, this is the guy you're going to throw in prison for rehab, because the conclusion of it was this as follows. Let me get up here on the screen. This was the conclusion. So according to this report, KODAK was sentenced to 30 days in rehab for whatever deal he got. So KODAK's lawyers are absolutely amazing. I think that might have been maybe his best investment ever in his career, that he got these incredible lawyers on his case to kind of help him out, because so far, since he kind of got a new representation, he hasn't been in and out of prison like he was before. Do you know what I mean? He's been avoiding a lot of prison time because of the lawyers he's kind of got on deck. So whatever retainer he's paying them, it's well worth it. So this is a quick clip of KODAK Black speaks at a hearing for bail violation before judge orders him to spend 30 days in rehab.
Yeah. And although the shoe is not my color, he always comes dressed appropriately. Sometimes he raises my closet.
Good morning. Good morning. You said something about this earlier. The truth, when you no rehearsal to it, I ain't rehearsed it, and I just I could.
So you come out one ear.
Do whatever, get on my knees, bed, whatever, cry, I do it. But
what?
I don't know. It's just like it's just so much. It's just unjust and not right about the situation.
Sorry, I can't hear what he's saying. But for a moment there, I legitimately thought he was gonna say, "I don't know what it is, man. It's just these drugs. They just be so good, man. It's so tasty or something." You know what I mean? I thought that's what he's gonna say, but he didn't. He said something about it being unjust or something. But yeah, you can't hear it. It's not me. It's the volume of this thing. It's not really the best. It's all, my thing is all maxed out. It's the volume of this clip, unfortunately. It's really bad.
Like, not only am I denying it, like, I'm hurt of it.
We can resolve that.
Right. I'm hurt about it too, because it's like my character being assassinated. I can't speak about it. It's like I don't want to make the story bigger than what it is. I'm talking about like the actual goes out, like all the good deeds I do, all the good things I do. It's like never goes as viral and stuff. And I don't know why people be so hungry to send me to jail. I don't understand like.
Okay. I don't mind what he's doing. He's trying to pay himself out to be a bit of a victim, whatever it may be. But yeah, it's calling the judge bro, and it's some like older black woman, which is absolutely hilarious. I think so. But yeah, I find that really ridiculous. But hey, you got to do and say what you got to do to stay out of prison. So I'm not really too, mad on that. He's, getting up there and saying what he's saying. But no one wants to see him in jail. I think he's kind of overreacting in that regard. It's just funny because he keeps getting himself in a position where he gets back into jail, clearly because he just doesn't give a fuck. And that's why I love him, because he clearly doesn't give a fuck. And he's clearly incredibly talented just from birth, right? Someone that just got it factor, but just can't seem to figure out his life part and things. And he's had a good run recently, I think, in terms of keeping himself out of trouble and whatnot. But you know, the guy's a legit rock star. Let's just put that way. Look how he turned up to court. Look how he turned to court. He turned to court looking like a flipping Jolly Rancher, basically. Right? Look how he turned up to court. Look at this suit. Where did you buy this suit from? This yellow and pink number, double-breasted. No, was it double-breasted? Yeah, it was a double-breasted number as well. Like, where do you get that suit from? Please, someone tell me. You have to be a super gremlin.
Stay. Yes, Your Honor. I was waiting on Mr. Lippman. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? Go ahead.
He's asking for Jolly Rancher. Someone said what? Uche saying in the chat, it's a posh version of an orange jumpsuit. It's a bougie jumpsuit, isn't it? It's a bougie jumpsuit. But yeah, this guy turned up to court with the munchies asking for a Jolly Rancher mid-sentencing or whatever he's going through, deliberation. Like, he's an absolute freak, man. That's why I love the guy. I'm never, ever not going to love KODAK Black. One of my favorite rappers out. Like, honestly, legitimately one of my favorite rappers out. And consistently has great projects front to back. I think he's got one out at the moment. It's with the flipping, what's it, KI? It's a bat signal. I've got it on my phone. What's a recent flipping thing he's got at the moment that I've been banging in the gym? That's it. Cutthroat Bill 2. Cutthroat Bill, sorry, Volume 1 that came out last year. That's out at the moment too if you want to go check that out. Big up KODAK Black. And of course, as we all know, the success of any black man in entertainment is going to be determined by the amount of white people you have around him. And KODAK Black has a decent amount of white people around him, as you can see here. Big up my white people helping us out. Yo, white people.
Can we talk to you about the judge's ruling?
No, thank you so much, sir.
What exactly happened with the drug test? Is there anything you'd like to say?
Thank you, Darren.
Anything you'd like to say to your fans?
Sorry.
Good boy. Keep yourself quiet. No comments. He looks good in the suit though. No homo. The guy looks really good in the suit. Oh yes, homo. He looks good in the suit. I would. All day. Bust it wide open. Show me that mouth, dude.
That's okay. Go on.
Let me see that pussy.
No.
Cool. Done. Look at that. That's what you need in your team when you're fighting things. You don't need, you don't need Master P. You don't need Charlemagne the God. You don't need some nonsense podcaster guy. You don't need Gillian Wallace shouting at you. You need a white, educated man who knows the law, who's going to tell you no comment, who's going to charge you an exorbitant amount, right? He's not going to cut any corners. He's going to maybe ask you to come and perform at at his flipping daughter's 16th birthday party. And he's going to still expect you to still pay his bill. There's not going to be no freebies here. But he's going to be on call all the time. He's going to be willing to accept your call at any moment. He'll drop anything that he's doing. In the middle of smashing his wife, in the middle of being out, Disneyland with his family, he'll come, bail you out, get you sorted, get you right, and get you back out there. It's going to cost you a lot of money though. It's going to, as I said in this comments, £1,000 an hour, $1,000 an hour, but you're guaranteed that you won't spend any time in prison for, or sitting in jail for like a minor, domestic dispute where you punch up some girl, you gave her a black eye, he's going to put that under a carpet. You maybe pull that gun on a Walmart worker, he's going to sweep that under the carpet. You maybe, rear-ended some mother or two with her kids in the back, he's going to sweep that under the carpet. You maybe embezzle some funds, he's going to sweep that under the carpet. He's going to keep that done. So that's what you need in your corner. Those type of goods. You need this in your corner. Not some social justice warrior, not some activist with a flipping BLM t-shirt on, talking loads of nonsense, spreading hashtags. You need someone with actual knowledge, knows what their job is, and is going to follow through all the time. That's what you need. So yeah, big up. Dark Web J, my lawyer took the bus. Yeah, that bad lawyer thing. The only thing I can think of a bad lawyer thing is that Drewski meme, that skit he does, of that bad lawyer that turns up and says, I got some good news and some bad news. Like, Something about how you're gonna, whatever. So you're gonna spend like 20 years in jail or something. I love that shit, man. Drewski's a fucking legend. Big up Drewski. What's he gonna talk about that? Oh, blah blah blah. Oh, let's talk about this one. So what's next on the list? Let's talk about that. Let's go from there. Let me just quickly get up on the screen. Here, I'm saying screen as if I'm from Atlanta or something, like streets. Let me not do that. Where is it? Oh, where can I get it? I'll just put it up on the stream. Let me just double check it. Bear with me 1 second. 1 second. Let me see if I can get it up on here. It's not there. Is it here? Nope. My computer's loading slow as per usual. Great to see. Bear with me a second. Come on. It's not that one. This is everything. Snap from the kind I'm meant to have. Okay, not that one. Is it this one? Is it this one? No, it's always that one. Which one is it? Come on. Get up on the stream here. Come on, man. Where are ya? Where are ya? Where are ya? Not that one. Okay, I gotta just get up on here again. I don't think I have it. Unfortunately, I didn't load it up beforehand because I'm an absolute redact, aren't I? That's why, because I'm an absolute redact. I don't think I have it on here. Where is it? Okay, it's not on there. Cool. All right, let's get another one then. Bear with me 1 second while I get this up on here, because I got the redact didn't obviously put it up on there. Yay! Redact. But yeah, let's go. I think this is the one. Okay, cool. I must have it on here. Where is it? I'm sure I have it on here. Boom, boom, boom. It's on that one. It's on that one. It's on this one, of course. It's gonna be this. Nope. Yes. Nope. Okay. Oh, there we go. I did have it. I knew it. There we go. It's over here. Okay, it's up already on the screen. So let's go with this one. This is an interesting one. Obviously, I'm sure most of you have already kind of heard this, so this is not going to be new to any of you guys watching the stream, unfortunately. But I just wanted to cover it myself and kind of give my overall impressions as to the whole affair, because I thought it was absolutely hilarious when this whole thing went down in the first place. Anyway, I thought this is absolutely hilarious. So it involves Brendan Schaub v Andrew Schulz, and this is directly from BGL, aka Mark Harley's mouth, and I don't think we would have ever heard about this story if he didn't reveal it. So whatever I think about the dude and however lame and corny he might be to me, I still think that is incredibly awesome from him. So round of applause for BGL for revealing an absolutely incredible amount of news, information and gossip that we would have never known about. So big up BGL for providing that absolute amazing bit of information. But the information at hand here that I want to talk about is as follows. If I can get up on the screen, bear with me 1 second. But I think it's pretty sensational when it comes to dealing with these guys and how they go about interacting with each other. And again, like I said, I don't think it's something we would have known about if it wasn't for BGL. So we have to kind of give him credit for kind of revealing it, but it does kind of highlight a lot of the things I think we've spoken about on the stream, about how they act and with each other and just in general, and just how weird it is between them and the dynamic, and why certain people can, have kind of run amok around the industry because of who they're basically associated and linked with. So this is courtesy of BGL. They posted on the Friday Night Kids subreddit, and he said the following. He said, okay, since you guys have been having fun in response to my shoe video, I'll tell you a story of the Andrew Schulz beef. Warning, this isn't a story designed to make Papa look bad. That could be in your interpretation, but it also gives you some insight into how Schulz's brain. That's not flattering. Interesting, right? So clearly he's saying, hey, I'm not Brendan Schaub's friend anymore. I don't like him, and I've got this big tour. But also be warned, this story isn't going to make Brendan look bad. It's going to make him actually look good. So, be wary if you're kind of coming to hating him already. He's not the enemy here. So, Brendan had an idea for a Gringo Pappy promo video. He wanted to essentially make a parody of the Dave Chappelle promo with Morgan Freeman, where they were driving in a truck and Freeman is doing a voiceover and Dave gets annoyed and reveals he's actually next to him in a truck. So for Brendan's version, he hired Bruce Buffer at a friend rate, but still at 10K plus. I think for the day, plus production expenses, the whole thing was estimated to be 15K. I love that bit about the story. I love the fact that in LA or in Hollywood, even if you know somebody and you're a friend and they've known each other for a while. Brendan's been in the UFC. Buffer's probably caught some of his fights. They've been around the industry. Buffer came on the podcast early on. I think Brendan went on his podcast too. They're clearly familiar with each other. But still, even if you're friends with somebody, they're still going to charge you like high in numbers. And I would imagine $10K for Bruce Buffer to do a voiceover or to do whatever he's going to do, that promo, probably isn't too far off from his actual normal rate. Maybe it's double, maybe. But half price for as friends rate, as mates rate, sorry, is still pretty high. People get to the money in LA. They get to the absolute money. So the concept is virtually the same. Brendan's driving through the hills of Calabasas, and Bruce hypes up his special in the patented voice and terms. The shoot goes great, but didn't get to see the final product. But by all accounts, it was just what Brendan wanted. This was closer to when Chappelle released his special, July 2022, as Brendan was. Now, the only thing that's interesting to me about this is that Brendan loves to talk out two sides of his mouth, or maybe change his mind all the time. Because there was a time when Brendan was saying that how he was kind of annoyed that he keeps getting called a fighter, UFC thing. He kind of wanted to push away from that kind of image and wanted to, assert himself as an actual stand-up. So to have your special be introduced by legendary UFC announcer, or just a combat sports announcer overall, it was a bit weird, isn't it? It doesn't really make any sense, in my opinion, especially if you don't want to be known as a UFC guy. And also, just in terms of the theme of Gringo Pappy, there's nothing that links the UFC to whatever to that special whatsoever. I don't think he even does any UFC jokes, does he? Any fighting jokes? It's mostly him trying to do hacky jokes about his Mexican family, basically. It's not really anything to do with fighting, so it would have been a weird promo to have anyway, even if it did go through. But that's the first part of the story. The second part. So closer to when Chappelle released his special in July 2022, as Brendan was initially going to release it in the fall, so it would still be somewhat fresh in people's minds. Apparently, word got back to Schulz. This is the weird bit, right? Bruce Buffer's doing this promo shoot thing for Brendan. It's with TFATK. It's for a Gringo Pappy thing. I'm assuming some comedians filmed their special at the same time, but still, whatever you're working on, unless you tell somebody, why would they find out? You know what I mean? Or unless you're maybe using the same production people, I don't know. But usually they're all shooting with their own people. They've got their own guys. Usually whoever shoots your podcast, you'll rope them into shooting your special. You'll ask your producer to be your fucking executive producer. So it's weird. But anyway, somehow word got back to Schulz. Not sure how. He texted Brendan like it was an emergency. Very urgent and demanding, like text me back ASAP, urgent in all caps. I remember the word urgent was used. He texted twice. Brendan was shooting King of the Sting at the time and didn't respond immediately. So after the episode wraps up, he steps into another room at Thick Boy to call Schulz. I like how what's his name? The BGO, even though he hates Brendan, he still makes sure to include the 3 C's there, right? You have to respect what your bread was once buttered. You can't ever disrespect the gang, even if you get kicked out of it. To call Schulz, he picks up the phone, red hot. My best recollection of what was relayed. We got a problem. Huh? Brendan, you stole my idea, dude. Huh? What? Bruce Buffer, dude. Yeah? He's going around the country opening my shows and is on my special. Dude, relax. This is a totally different idea. So I like the fact that despite Brendan being a really scary UFC fighter guy, a legit UFC heavyweight, don't matter what you think about his skills, he legitimately made his career out of getting into an octagon and fighting guys in shorts, right? With knees and elbows and kicks and stuff and strangulation, like super scary stuff. And he did it for a while. He wasn't necessarily the greatest at it, but still, he could fuck the regular person up, in seconds. It wouldn't even be a fair fight. But I still like the fact that despite that intimidating thing he has going on with the fighting, these comedians have such an ego and have such a kind of how do you call it? A grandiose sense of self that they would willingly get on the phone with another man and come on the phone hot. Not even try and be like chill and hey man, what's going on? I heard about this thing and trying to talk it out. He came on the phone hot already, ready to press him, ready to get like shouty. You're like thinking, hold on, with the dude, when you get in an argument, I think Jordan Peterson talks about it a lot. Like the reason why men are able to kind of mediate themselves in arguments is because there's always that underlying threat of like physical violence. You can't go too over the line with guys because especially if you know them in person, it can always go left very quickly. So the fact that this guy would willingly get on the phone, Brendan, and want to stick it on him and be like, kind of aggro, says everything about comedians. and also says everything about Brendan, how he's kind of looked upon. People don't respect him really in that regard. Obviously, the Joe Rogan thing connection is really there, but in terms of a respect factor, they don't really have any for him that they really want to get on the phone and immediately go to the kind of, you know, worst possible scenario. You're stealing my idea. It's like, come on, man, get a load of yourself. Next one. He says, dude, relax. This is a totally different idea. You can't use the promo, he says. Right? So Brendan's trying to fight for his life for this promo. He's probably caught off guard. Doesn't he know what's going on? Number one, we have to say Bruce Buffer snitched. Let's say that first. How else is fucking Andrew Schulz going to find out about his promo? They're not on the same fucking coast. They don't share producers or video guys. Like the only kind of constant in the show was Bruce Buffer. So Bruce Buffer's a chatty patty. Bruce Buffer cashed in the 15K from Brendan, another 15 from fucking Schultzy, and is sitting somewhere Copacabana Beach sipping on Mai Tais and, you know, slipping his little Johnny into, no, I'm not going to go there, but you know what I mean? Like, Bruce Buffer snitched and he got paid. This is what happened. Anyway, he said, Schultz allegedly says you can't use the promo. Brendan replies, the fuck? First of all, I just spent 15K on this. I'm not just going to dump it because you're upset. Secondly, if anyone has a claim to Bruce Buffer, again, this is grown adult men fighting over Bruce Buffer, right? Fighting over him. It would be me. He used to announce my fights, and I've been friends with him longer. Friends is a loose term in LA, but if you know someone, they're your friend. And allegedly, Schultz says this: "You don't want this smoke." And Brendan in his voice, "Excuse me?" You know, he says rapping, holding his chest. That's not nice. And then Schultz says, "You don't want this smoke." Now, I think Schultz did that like this: "You don't want this smoke," like a really, like, you know, sassy black woman, which is ridiculous, right? Because he's the whitest of the whitest. But obviously, because he grows up in New York and, you know, he went to a private school, even though he went to a private school and he looks the way he does, he somehow thinks he can, you know, use that kind of mannerisms and stuff and it look corny. Whatever, he did it. But the fact that he does this in real life without irony, like, it's one thing doing on the podcast and acting sassy and using, you know, hood lexicon and whatnot and slang, but to do it in a serious manner, like, actually, "You don't want this smoke," like, is legitimately one of the most redacted things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, legitimately redacted, like, legitimately. And again, I said to us, I emphasize this: he's saying all this stuff, "You don't want this smoke," to a former UFC heavyweight. So you want about Brendan Schaub, but he could legitimately beat Schultz up with one hand tied behind his back. Legit. Yeah. And he's telling you don't want this smoke. Like, excuse me? Anyway, this set Brendan off, I think rightfully, as it came off as a threat of some sort. And obviously BGL was there in the corner. I was like, what's up? What's that? What did Schultz say? Right, BGL's ready to step in as well. So you're going to have to fight BGL with his size 8 feet. You're going to have to fight Brendan with a nicotine patch in his mouth. Like, imagine Brendan beating you up. Brendan will beat you up looking the way he does now. Face all inflamed, nicotine patches in their mouth, smelling like whiskey, you know, stains all over his t-shirt, weird jeans with elastic at the bottom of them, weird trainers that are terrible, don't fit properly. Like, he'll beat you up in the most ridiculous outfit ever. Like, that's how embarrassing it would be. It continues. Put me on the speakerphone. I will beat the shit. And sorry, put me on speakerphone. I will beat the fuck out of you and everyone else in that fucking room who's listening into this phone call. So I think Brendan heard Schultz put him on speakerphone or something, right? I think so. What? And then obviously Schultz, being the big pussy that he is, right? You don't go on the phone and talk to men in a certain way and then try and act like you weren't doing that thing. He goes, "Whoa, no, I didn't mean it like that. I meant you don't want these problems from the comic community when they see that you stole my idea." So now Schultz is trying to, you know, kind of appeal to Brendan's need to not be hated and to not be ganged up upon online and to have, you know, another kind of stick to beat him down with via his trolls or whatnot. And he's trying to appeal to that side and tell him, "Hey, I'm going to shame you out of not doing this so that you don't get any more hassle online that you already get." But if I'm Brendan, I'm thinking, no, you didn't mean that. You came on the phone and tried to sun me. You came on the phone and tried to flex. And then I called your bluff. And now you're suddenly talking about, "Hey, bro, chill, man. Chill. It's just a prank. It's a prank. No, it's not a prank. bring your wife down here too. I'll beat you up in front of your wife and take your wife back home. That's what Brendan should have said, really, right? Do you know what I mean? Bring your wife back, bring your wife down here, bring that little 2-seater car that you drive around in, and whoever loses this fight, whoever wins this fight, gets to take your car and your wife. That's what he should have said to him, right? And whoever loses has to take a cash. But yeah, let's continue. I think he had other members of Flagrant 2 chime in and say yes, it's an idea theft. So Brendan goes into the King and the Sting room and asks the other guys for their opinion. Brendan explains the situation and asks. He asks. So in the room at the time, we think King and the Sting. He asks Chris D'Elia. He said, "Nah, that's fucking stupid, Schulz." And Thea says, "Man, fuck Andrew Schulz." So that's interesting to see. Thea Vaughn isn't necessarily the biggest fan of Andrew Schulz, which will make a lot of sense though, because Andrew Schulz's demeanor, how he kind of goes on, you imagine it will kind of piss, Thea Vaughn off. But that's pretty cool to see Thea sticking up for Brendan and just calling it as he sees it. Isn't it? That's pretty cool. It goes as follows. Okay, well, we got to figure this out. Yeah, you know what? How about we go to a neutral third party? We can ask Rogan for his opinion. And he says, okay, but whatever he says goes. So Schulz is clearly knowing that Rogan will side for him because Rogan's always on the side of like integrity and not stealing things. And, if anything, Rogan's got more morals and principles when it comes to stand-up comedians and their flipping material than he actually does with what they get up to in their quote-unquote private life. If a comic is accused of rape, is accused of sexual harassment, is accused of whatever they're accused of, suddenly he's mute. He doesn't have any opinion, especially with his friends. Doesn't know anything. No comment. But Joe Biden slurs his words a couple of times. Someone steals a joke or premise or maybe shits on someone special. He's out with that finger. Mate. But if you say anything about their lives, he doesn't want to say anything. But anyway, regardless, it goes. But I also find it hilarious that these guys are kind of going to fucking judge Rogan for them to kind of quell and mediate their fucking beefs, which again points to me understanding why Rogan's the way he is. I've always said, from my point of view, I think Rogan's pretty cool. I think he's pretty chill for the level of fame he has, and the fact that he's a multi-millionaire, maybe close to a billionaire. He's comes across as a pretty chill dude. I think only recently in the last few years, as he's getting old, as he's kind of advancing in age and he's becoming more conservative in his politics, and he's becoming a bit more of a grumpier, older dude, he started to become less likable. But I think that always tends to happen when you're an older guy that's amassed a lot of wealth, right? You just become a little bit embittered and whatnot, and pull yourself up by your bootstrap type of person. So it's a bit annoying, but it kind of is what it is. But I also understand why maybe his ego can be a little bit big, because essentially he's got a whole community of like grown men, like men with families, right? Legitimately, Tom Segura moved his entire family from LA to Austin just because of Joe Rogan. Like, these guys are like on another planet. Like, they follow this man around like he's Gandhi or something. It's really, really horrible. So I'm not surprised that he really does think he's that guy when he's got these grown men on his phone bickering about their flipping inner working arguments and stuff, whatever, fighting over certain things. He has to kind of come in and mediate because they generally do need him. Like, it's a genuine thing. They actually do need Joe Rogan. Without him, they're all going to be FUCK'd. So it makes a lot more sense. Anyway, it continues. My recollection is they got off the phone, lay it all out to Rogan, and he says, well, I understand both sides, but you're trying to get Brendan to do something that he doesn't have to do. So how about, Brendan, you don't air the promo, but Schulz has to pay you $15,000 for production costs. They agree. Schulz never pays Brendan. That seems to be the start of some of the tension. That's hilarious if that's the case, because I don't think we've seen them together since then, have we? Really? Maybe that's why they're kind of not really as cool as they were before. And also, there's that story that BGO said that he felt like... No, BGO said, Brendan said that he felt ambushed when he went on the Flagrant podcast when they were in their old studio and they asked him about the drug walk with Annie Lederman. He felt a little bit ambushed and stuff, and they were kind of clearly trolling and asking questions about from the homeless cats and blah, blah, blah. So there may be some ongoing beef, but this is quite karmic in some respects, because Brennan also was the guy who bum rushed flipping Andrew Schultz's wedding. I don't think he was invited, from what I remember. He wasn't invited, and the story goes, according to some cats, the theory is that Brendan wanted to see Rogan. He hadn't seen Rogan in person for ages, and he wanted to rekindle that relationship by seeing him in person, and he went to bum rush the wedding because everyone's going to be there and take pictures and shit. So he basically dragged his wife there, and they kind of went to the wedding together, even though they weren't really invited. That basically happened. I think even Schultz maybe revealed it because I think Bobby Lee felt away. Bobby Lee felt a bit annoyed that he didn't get invited and said, "Oh, how did fucking Brendan Schaub get invited? I don't." And I think Schultz basically said, "I didn't invite him. Like, he just basically came along," kind of thing. So it's funny that the guy that you kind of went and bum rush his wedding to kind of support and to clout chase is also the same guy that's going to get on the phone to you and start giving it to you because he thinks you stole his fucking shitty Bruce Buffer announcer thing, which I think is, but for both, it's, for me, the cringiest part of the whole special was the Bruce Buster. He's got a Bussy's bussing. The most cringy part for me of Andrew Schultz's special was the whole grandiose Bruce Buffer in introducing him the way he was introducing him, like he's a fighter. That was really cringe. There's nothing fighting, about Andrew Schultz or even his comedy. He's not really kind of that kind of guy. At least with Brendan, he's a former UFC fighter. That makes more sense. Even then, with Gungo Papi, wouldn't have made sense either. With the theme of the show, it just doesn't make any sense why they went to use him. It just was maybe a clout thing, a marketing gimmick. For me, I didn't like it either side. But I just find it hilarious that Schultz ran off on the plug, didn't pay him the 15K, and they've maybe never been as close as they were before because of this. And obviously, Rogan is the guy that had to kind of mediate the whole thing. Absolute ridiculous, absolutely special needs in the highest amount, and really, really cringe. And also goes to show just how redacted these guys are. And that's what I mean sometimes when they kind of like to bemoan the regular civilian for not understanding jokes. Regular civilians are yes, regular civilians don't do that. But when's the last time, as a regular civilian, have you gone and text a friend, a neutral party, to try and sort out your argument with somebody? Maybe the neutral party steps in, but is there really somebody that you all kind of kowtow and bow down to and kiss their feet, and wherever they say goes? Who's that person in your friendship group? Any person we have in my friendship group that kind of tries to become the judge and jury or tries to become the leader, you get teased. People just take the piss out of you. Like, who do you think you are? Do you know what I mean? We're all grown people here. We're going to make our own decisions soon enough. But the fact that they all kind of, bow to flipping Rogan and, inform him of every major life decision they're going to make. Because don't think this stops here. Don't think these guys are not the same guys that would call Rogan up and say, "Hey, I'm dating that girl. Remember that girl introduced you to at the comedy store? I'm gonna propose, man. What do you think?" Don't be surprised if that's the thing. Don't be surprised if this guy's asking, "Hey, man, I'm about to name my kids, Sony and flipping Vibranium. What do you think, man? What's a better name?" Don't be surprised if that's the thing. "Hey, man, I've got this house I'm buying, man. What do you think? Should I get this one or that one?" Like, that's what they go to him for. Rogan's legitimately that guy for these people. So that explains why Rogan's head is a bit big. That explains why these guys are the way they are. And that also explains why I've never really been impressed, ever in the slightest. Like, people always ask me all the time on the stream, "Oh, would you interview this person, interview that person?" I don't care in the slightest for these people. The only person I actually want to interview, that I would love to interview, would be someone like a Kate Quigley. Like, legitimately, I'd love to interview Kate Quigley to find out if those, still using cocaine stories are true after, like, all their friends died after, a binge session. I would absolutely love that. But all these other guys, like, I'm not impressed. You know what I mean? Like, they act like they work really hard because they have to podcast for 4 hours for one day, as if that's equivalent to working, a construction job, or working in an office, or working in a retail store, or a supermarket, or a factory. Like, they legitimately think like sitting in a cold water bathtub or sitting in a sauna is legitimately equivalent to like being in a fight or working out. These guys are on another planet. They don't really, interest me in that regard as personalities. They obviously provide us with good entertainment, most of it free. That's great. But apart from that, I'm not really that impressed. So this definitely explains it for me. But I thought that story was absolutely hilarious. I really, really did. And obviously, what's his face? BGL provided some proof of the whole affair, and that it actually did happen by providing us with this absolute beauty of a picture. So you can see that the whole shoot and idea that Brendan had planned actually did happen, but he just didn't air it. So this is the video clip of Brendan. I think he's driving that new Ford Bronco that he purchased, which was funny as well. So you would have had all that in the show. So if you hated Gringo Pappy the way it was with the cutouts, you would have had to seen a shot of Brendan Schaub rocking up to his new Ford Bronco, the 2022 model, opening it up, they'll most likely there was a shot of him walking to the car, the back shot that he likes, right? Not back shots, but the back shot. Remember, he likes that kind of what's someone called it in the stream chat? The superhero angle of him walking up to his truck, texting something funny on the phone or something, and then opening the car. And then Bruce Buffer, and then him driving in it, and kind of hearing Bruce Buffer saying these things, and it pans over, and he's actually in the car. You would have had to see all that before it went to the show. So I don't know how they would have switched the scenes. Maybe he maybe he drives all the way to the flipping club, which he doesn't do because he takes a plane everywhere. But if he drives to the club, it maybe would have gone dark, and then you would have seen him get changed into his off-white clothes, and he jumps on stage. So if you hated Gringo Pappy the way it was, just imagine how awkward this skit would have been at the start of it. People saying in the chat, release the Brendan cut. Yeah, exactly. Big up Kevin, release the Brendan cut. That would have been awesome. But I think it would have looked so awkward. That clip, the Gringo Pappy is already awkward, right? With whoever the black guy is introducing him. And this is a song that Brendan Schaub, whatever that fucking horrible Little Brows rap song at the start. Like, oh. It would have been absolutely terrible, man. So I'm actually happy this happened the way it did, because I think it would have made the special far worse. So maybe it was for the best he didn't get approval to fucking use that skit. But also, Schulz, pay the man. Pay the guy his 15K. You've got it. You obviously flaunting it and stuff. Pay the man his 15K. You got all the views you need to get off the fucking special, and you've kind of gained it all back. Give him the monies, man. Give Brendan Schaub his monies. He's owed. Give Brendan Schaub the money he's owed. But yeah. Absolutely love it, man. Absolutely love it. Yeah, Colin's saying Bruce Buffer loves himself. Yeah. I don't know. I like him as a announcer, but he comes across as a little bit of a cunt, innit? On like as a person. Not a bad thing. Everyone's got their personality, but I think his brother is I think his brother as a person is probably far nicer, I'd imagine, than he is. But again, who knows? Maybe it's the opposite way when you actually meet people in real life. But he always comes across a bit of a wanker to me. But yeah, next on the list, let's move to this one quickly before we go to the other things. So, my dearest Uche left a very interesting comment that I want to kind of relay to you guys to see what you guys think. So don't be embarrassed, Uche, but I think this is really interesting. I want to hear your opinion on this, the rest of the stream chat, because I think some people have been speaking about this. I think there's a clip I'm going to play of kind of Brendan speaking about negativity and something, and I'm just interested about it. So, this is the comment that Uche left on one of the videos I put out, or the clips, regarding Red Bar defending Brendan Schaub, right? When he did that kind of heel turn and kind of, incensed. He was a bit, I think, Red Bar was more annoyed because he felt like Chris D'Elia should be getting the same amount of hate that Brendan's getting, if not more, for what he's done. Brendan hasn't necessarily done anything. He's just really unfunny and maybe an unlikable personality, but he hasn't really committed any crimes. And he's kind of annoyed at that. And also being a contrarian. But anyway, Uche said the following. The thing I don't like about Red Bar is he legitimately seems to hate people, and he talks about, I'm just here for the silly watch. And not take everything too seriously. I don't actually hate Brendan or anyone else in the Bappaverse. They're just hilarious by way of redactedness. Red Bar, on the other hand, just seems bitter, jaded by the comedy industry, and I can't get down with that, which I agree with. But I want to just go with the main bar. She says here, I don't actually hate Brendan or anyone else in that Bappaverse. I want to know in the stream chat, do some of you guys actually hate Brendan? Like legit, do you guys actually hate him? Like, is there a contingent of people that actually don't like him as a person, and you actually want to see him go broke? You want to see him work a regular job? You think he doesn't deserve his success? Blah, blah, like whatever. Is that a thing that existed? I want to actually know. They would say no, yes. Rebels say, okay, some people say no, yes. Okay, so it depends on who the people are in the stream chat. Yes, no hate, just lols. No, I generally love Red Bar. Okay. Okay, so it's split. It's basically split. Now, just here for the memes, I go for pity to cringe, but to never hate. Uche hit the hammer on the head there, yep. Or as Brendan would say, Uche hit the nail with the hammer, or the hammer with the nail. Fully agree with Uche. Now it's just funny. Hello for South Wales. Big up, big up, big up. Okay, cool. So everyone's it's kind of split 50-50. And Andre J is saying, don't hate him, but I would be hilarious if he had to work a normal job. Of course it would be, but it's never happening. He's got Joe Rogan in his corner. He's never going to fail. Right? He's a bully his whole life in front of him. I don't need okay, cool. So it's split. But for me personally, just to kind of put it out there, I've never hated any of these guys. I just find it really funny. Like, I've said it many a times, but this is essentially, even though there's women in this chat here, it's kind of like the male version of the Kardashians, or just another, not even a male, let's just say another version of the Kardashians. If you're into the Kardashians, if you love Love Island, I can understand why you like that sort of stuff, because it's funny to laugh at these people, and also just to kind of turn your brain off and kind of silly watch it, and kind of just enjoy the redactedness of it and whatever, not take yourself too seriously. And that's what I kind of get from this, listening to the podcast, hearing them gossip each other. And the funny thing is all about stand-ups is that they're all such gossips. They're all such chatty patties. They can't help but not speak about each other, even if it's in code or even if it's not so subtle. They always reveal stuff. So it's always funny to kind of be able to put some, you know, to connect some dots, to maybe come up with some theories, hypotheses, just kind of lay it out there that way and just kind of waste a bit of time. But in terms of hating, nah, not really. If anything, like I said before in the stream, what I think is the thing, yeah, exactly, comedy Kardashians, exactly, Uche, comedy Kardashians, that's exactly what it is. They're the comedy Kardashians, and I love it for that. I love it for that, because you can follow it all the way through. If anything, for me, I think I've said it before, I think if you're a stand-up comedian who's doing the door at the comedy store, who's having to do the ticket thing, right, who's having to maybe do the park, I don't know, you're doing openers, you're doing the potluck thing, I think you should hate Brendan more if you're a stand-up comedian, or the other people, the LA guys. Maybe you have more reason to hate them because you're actually on the grind, doing open mics and stuff, not getting anywhere fast. Your YouTube videos don't get any views. No one listens to your podcast. No one cares. You just have to kind of hustle for literally everything, right? I'd be more annoyed at Brendan for that. If you're that person, you've got a reason to be somewhat hateful. Even though I still think it's not a constructive emotion or feeling, and it's not really going to help you in your career, and you probably should be focusing more on actually getting better at what you do, trying to market yourself better and whatever else it may be to kind of get where you want to get to. But if you're a stand-up comedian that's on the come up, you maybe have more reason to hate him. I just think fans, unless you're really invested and you really were a hardcore fan and he legitimately turned you off, then cool. But for me, I'd always vote with my feet. Like when that whole Joe Budden thing happened, where Joe Budden fired his first team with Rory and Mal, and that fallout happened, and I got to see like the ugly side of Joe Budden. I just stopped listening to Joe Budden podcast. I don't hate the guy. I just kind of voted with my kind of listening, right? With my feet sort of thing. I just stepped away from that whole, universe. Now I might see the clips here and there on the subreddit, but I've not listened to a full show of Joe Budden ever since then. And even the new Rory and Mal show, I listened to it here and there, but it kind of affected the way I viewed all of those guys. So it's never really hate for me when it comes to content creators, because I guess it's never really that serious ever. But I do understand some fans who can get that serious, but for me, it's never ever that serious. I don't really hate in that regard. It's just funny really to kind of watch. And for whatever reason, I don't know what is about these stand-ups. They don't seem to understand that. They seem to think that everybody that does this sort of stuff that I'm doing, or comments on videos, or is on Reddit, is really invested in them and kind of cares and hates and stuff, when really it's just fun. It's just the opposite side of fandom, because we kind of are fans really, right? Even if we don't watch a show, we kind of are by proxy kind of Brendan Shaw fans, because we're still here listening and watching, me included, watching the clips, seeing what he said. Even though I don't watch the full show, you're still kind of paying attention to the guy's life and stuff. He doesn't know any of us, doesn't care that we exist, but we know that he does. So by proxy, we're kind of fans. So if anything, I think it's the two sides of being a fan. One side is that you just take everything in as a fan and just love everything that they do. Another side is that you might shit on some stuff. You might say, oh, this guest was crap. That thing was not that great. I didn't like this. You were funny there. That other thing was funnier. That's just two sides of one fan, I think, in my opinion. It's never that deep, and it's never that malicious, really. If anything, it's more malicious on Brendan's side, because if you remember, there's a law. People forget about this, but during that whole Uniques thing, if I'm not mistaken, again, I don't want to speak ill of the guy, but I think Uniques had some funny allegations around him that may involve like domestic abuse, that may involve children and shit. And if I'm not mistaken, Brendan was using whatever Uniques was going through personally as a human himself and tried to lump that in with the whole homeless cats, with the whole Fire in the Kids subreddit, in an effort to take that sub down. Because I think that was when also BGL was trying to dox certain people that were on the Fire in the Kids subreddit and shit. It was really messy, but that's really hateful shit. Do you know what I mean? To go to that extent, to get somebody's one issue and kind of lump all the haters under that umbrella is absolutely disgusting. I think that's worse than anything that we're doing here by pointing out the guy can't pronounce things. He supports a million teams. That's way worse, in my opinion. Again, that's just me personally, but I don't know. Maybe you guys think I'm being overreacting this, but I think that's way worse in that regard. But hey, what can you do? What can you do? So let's move on from that one. Let's break the ice with this one. Actually, I need to kind of restart the stream. Oh, see, why is the stream chat always doing this? Maybe I got to re-download Streamlabs. I hate when it does that. Let me just do it again. Okay. To break the ice a little bit, have you guys seen this? Let's break the ice with this one. How many of my Caucasian audience in the stream chat feel the same way as this guy? Be honest. Be honest, okay? Be honest. How many of you in the stream chat feel the same way? Please be honest.
So if nearly half of all blacks are not okay with white people, according to this poll, not according to me, according to this poll, that's a hate group. That's a hate group. And I don't want to have anything to do with them. And I would say, based on the current way things are going, the best advice I would give to...
Big up Carlos for being honest. Props to you, Carlos, 100%.
...white people is to get the hell away from black people. Just get the fuck away. Wherever you have to go, just get away. Because there's no fixing this. This can't be fixed.
Let's go back again. Let's go back again. Kevin's putting his hand up as well. Big up all the brave white warriors in my chat. Big up the brave Caucasian warriors. Kevin putting up his hand. Space Guy putting up his hand. Big up all the brave warriors. All the brave white soldiers in my stream chat. Black History Month is over. It's the 1st of March. You don't have to feel guilty anymore.
Right, this can't be fixed. You just have to escape. So that's what
Kevin, I'm Mexican. Okay, my bad. I love this.
And I went to a neighborhood where, I have a very low black population. Because unfortunately, there's a high correlation between the density. And this is according to Don Lemon, by the way. So here I'm just quoting Don Lemon.
What color's what color's Dom Lemon? Eh? What color's Dom Lemon? Tell us, what color is your mother? If you know that meme, you know that reference, then you know. What color is your mother?
He notes that when he lived in a mostly black neighborhood, there were a bunch of problems that he didn't see in white neighborhoods. So even Don Lemon sees a big difference in your own quality of living based on where you live and who's there. So I think it makes no sense whatsoever as a white citizen of America to try to help black citizens anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's no longer a rational...
Oh, he's a fucking legend. It's lost cause. You might also just put them on the boats and just send them out to the ocean. Take them out around the back and close their eyes and get them to sing some sort of flipping gospel song. And the Lord said my boo boo shot to the back of the head. Oh my God, this is flipping incredible. Man just sitting in his kitchen, just advocating for the complete genocide of African Americans. I love it.
Impulse. And so I'm gonna back off from being helpful to black America because it doesn't seem like it pays off. Like I've been doing it all my life, and the only outcome is I get called a racist. That's the only outcome. It makes no sense to help black Americans if you're white. It's over. Don't even think it's worth trying. Totally not trying. And there we go. You didn't expect that today, did you? But those who don't want to focus on education, you just need to get away from them. Just get as much distance as you can. That's my...
So hold on. Does it mean all black people or just the ones that don't like to read? Who do you mean? I'm shocked.
Recommendation. And I'm also really sick of seeing video after video of black Americans beating up non-black citizens. You know, I realize it's anecdotal.
Come on, man! You want to take down World Star as well? What? Can't we have anything? You want to get them all out of your country, and you want to take down World Star? Like, let us have World Star at least. Let us hold on to World Star, right? Come on, man! Let us have that. What's that breakfast place that everyone kind of fights at in America? What's that called? That place where you guys have all day breakfast and people always fighting there and shit. What's that place called? What's that place called in America in the chat where you guys love to fight? Americans, doesn't matter if you're black or white, you guys love fighting in there. Waffle House, that's the one coin. Yeah, Waffle House. Let the black Americans, the African Americans, let them keep World Star Hip Hop and Waffle House, right? Let them keep those things at least. Come on, man. Come on. He's so out of order.
And it, you know, doesn't give me a full picture of what's happening. But every damn day I look on social media and there's some black person beating the shit out of some white person. I'm kind of over it. I'm over it. Right? So I quit.
Oh, what an absolute legend. I'm sorry. What an absolute legend. I swear to God, what an absolute legend. That's the kind of guy, legitimately, in my experience, or in my opinion, he's the one that should be complaining about being shadow banned. Brendan's out here saying he's being shadow banned because his views aren't getting as many videos, his videos aren't getting as many views as they used to because he's a terrible podcaster, and maybe people have maybe seen he might be not the greatest human being because of a personality, he might have some reprehensible traits, so they naturally decide to, you know, to back off. But he thinks that's shadow banning. He thinks people are legitimately shadow banning him when he doesn't have any racy opinions. He doesn't necessarily ever come out and talk like talk like that. Right? That's actual shadow banning. Like, if for sure he's definitely felt some consequences off the back of this. There's no denying that. You know he's felt some consequences. Right? I swear you think he's felt consequences. I swear to God he has. But yeah, oh my God, man. What an absolute psychopath, mate. He just decided to kind of just get his camera out and just, you know, lay it bare. Just speak his truth, innit? So good luck to that guy. You're hoping the same things that happened to flipping Kanye happens to him, right? He's going to lose every single deal under the sun. You know, he's going to not have to be able to, you know, his Chase Bank is going to get shut down. Well, no, obviously it's not going to happen, you know? But yeah, you'd imagine so. But yeah, I find it hilarious. Oh, that was absolutely... When I saw it the first time, I legitimately did think it was an AI thing, but, you know, it was too well done. I knew it was definitely real. So yeah, so big up. What's his name? Is it Adam Scott, Adam Ray? I forgot, the DILLBERT guy. Big up him, I guess, in some respects. I guess that works. Another thing I want to talk about is this. How many guys in the stream chat, in order, if you were told, right, in order for you to have a chance to pull someone from the opposite sex that you wanted to have intercourse with or be intimate with or get in a relationship with, this is what you had to do. How many of you guys would have to do this? If you had to, how many of you would be willing to do this if this is what it required for you to, let's not even go that far, for you to be able to compete with other men in the octagon of life and attraction for these women out there? Would you do what the kids out here are doing? Would you do the following? I want to know.
Me to go on a date with my girlfriend, I got like 20 minutes to pick her up.
You have no car, have an ass, and don't pick anybody up.
My car is literally parked outside. What do you mean?
With no registration.
We got it all figured out last week. I got 20 minutes to do this. I'm playing Russian roulette with these lipsticks. Shiseido sent me all their new lipsticks. I don't wear lipstick, so I'm going to try and use this as blush.
They should not send you that ever again. Why would they send lipstick to someone who got dry ass lips?
Are you... Come close. Come hither.
Huh?
Who has dry lips? Don't lick your lips. I've known her since we was in 7th grade. And we've been best friends ever since. This is looking crazy. I hope she likes it. Oh, I forgot to finish my bake. We're going to watch Titanic in the movie theater tonight because that's my favorite movie ever since I was like 2 years old. And bro, it's in the movie theater. I'm a cry. She's low-key been the only person in my life who's never judged me, like ever, about anything. So I think that's why I love her so much. Your mom's a chest shirt, puta madre. I have like 8 minutes. Now that I'm looking as white as your dad's milk, let's like try to fix this. So these are the new Techno Satin Gel lipsticks. Again, I don't wear lipstick, so I'm gonna use them as blush. Oh, this looks like my dog's lipstick. These are all the shades. I don't even know the consistency, but I'm definitely like an orange type of dude. I don't even know if it's gonna blend well, bro. I really don't want to look horrible for my girlfriend because she don't deserve that. It's actually so creamy. It feels so good. I look sunburned. That's exactly what the fuck. I'm using colors Short Circuit and Harmonic Drive, and I look like I just got back from a vacation your dad paid for.
Yeah, man's going off. You know what? Part of me, as much as I want to tease this, I also think it's quite swaggy. There's something quite the levels of confidence you would have to have as a young man to get on TikTok and record your makeup tutorial before you go and allegedly take out your girlfriend, wink wink wink, is really, really incredible. To have that kind of level of confidence to, you know, put your makeup tutorial up online before you go on a date like this, because you know you're going to get teased. So if anything, this to me is basically the highest form of masculinity possible. It's like the equivalent of, like, you know, Prince wearing like fishnets and high heels and still, you know, being able to flip in, you know, steal your girl, steal your wife, right? Steal your mum. That's the kind of swaggy levels that I'm actually on. But the issue here is that he's already a, you know, at the base of it, a fairly good looking guy himself, fairly young, skin's tight, skinny as hell. It doesn't matter what he does to his face. It's always going to be a, you know, his base is already well and good. I think, unfortunately, for guys like myself who have hair and aren't blessed with the most, you know, photogenic face in the world, I don't think makeup is really going to make any difference. Sorry. I think, if anything, makeup will just probably highlight. It'll probably extenuate some things I don't want to extenuate. And it'll probably just be way more obvious that I'm wearing it. Do you know what I mean? Imagine me with some blush or some flipping makeup that gives me a fucking jawline, a fake one, or some fake chin line, or some fake cheekbones and a fake jawline and shit. Imagine what that would look like. Imagine me coming on here with like red lipstick or with, like, you know, lip gloss in general and like talking like how he's talking. Like, that would be an absolute madness, like absolute madness. So I think, as good as this is, it only is applicable to the guys out there you would deem to be quote unquote pretty boys, because they can basically play it off because they already have a good base on there. But I think if you're the regular dude, you know, if you're fucking Joe Rogan and you're applying some blush, you're gonna look absolutely insane. You know what I mean? Like, a regular farm looking human of a man is gonna look wild when they do that, in my opinion. But hey, what do I know? Big up all the forward-thinking, open-minded guys in the chat. That doesn't include Sarah for Design, who was going absolutely crazy. But big up all my forward-thinking man them out there, right? Oh shit! Sorry, my throat. So next one, let's see. What do we got here? Oh, say it here. Brendan messing up the intros on a guest on the Calabasas Fight Camp. Let's talk about that one. That was absolutely hilarious. Please, let's play this. Where is it? Where are we? Tim Urban. No, I think it's over here, right? What the fuck is it? Where? Oh, did I shut all these things down? Nope. Okay, there we go. See it. So, Carlos, it's so forward, it's backwards. In your opinion. In my opinion, I think that's amazing, and I'm saying yes. Okay, yes, queen, go do your thing. More power to you. That's the height of masculinity to me. But I just wouldn't do it because, you know, I don't have a good base. So I'm just gonna do what I can do. I'm gonna get my shape ups. I'm gonna apply some lip balm, which I have somewhere around here. I don't know where, but I'll do my lip balm and shit. You know, it's the best I can do. I'll get my hair cut. I'll get my hair braided from time to time. So I think I look like Trey Songz in my head, or flipping what's his name? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But those things are the best I can do, right? Maybe some push-ups and some sit-ups, but, you know, the makeup thing is probably a bit too far for me. But anyway, let's move on to the main pièce de résistance, Brendan Schaub and the Fight Companion. So the Calabasas Fight Companion happened the other day. They did it obviously covering the Jake Paul and Tommy Fury fight. And weirdly enough, I don't know how the guy does it, because I think the show is horrible. It's really badly produced. Number one, because the flipping people on the show, what do you call them, the host, I guess, they can't actually hear the fights. So I guess, you know, maybe they streamed it before regular, and I think I know myself because I remember streaming a couple of fights and I had it in the background without knowing, and it immediately got kind of pulled and it kind of got deleted from YouTube. It kind of got, you know, completely, you can't watch it anywhere type of thing. So they monitor those things around, and even if you put the volume really low, they pick it up. So clearly I think they got hit before, so they kind of cut that out. So now they watch the videos in the room on mute. So there's these 4 guys or 3 guys that don't know each other, sitting around watching a big screen of a fight they're not really familiar with, and they with no sound. So they have to kind of make small talk. I know live on stream, right, to kind of kill the dead air and stuff, it's a bit awkward. So I think that doesn't help with the show. And just in general, it's just not great. You know, what's the point? So he gets Adam Ray, Howie Mandel, and Ryan Garcia to sit down with him, which I think is a pretty decent lineup. But again, it's random as fuck because they don't know each other. And part of the reason why Calabasas Fight Club, sorry, the original Jerry Fight Companion was so good was because at the time, they were all really close. They were actually friends, like Brendan Schaub, Bryan, Callen, Joe Rogan, Eddie Bravo. They were actually friends. So the vibes were immaculate. And if anything, I remember myself at the time thinking before the allegations came out and when Brendan and Joe were still cool, before he said Joe slings dick and shit and all that stuff and kind of got iced out, when they were all still really pally, and Bryan was obviously pals with Joe Rogan and he wasn't telling him to shut the fuck up on shows all the time. One thing that you could kind of see was that they really enjoyed being around each other on that show. Like it was a legit good time. That they got a chance to be away from their families, to get drunk, get silly, eat cheese, drink wine, smoke some weed, and kind of fuck around in between the fights. That's what made it funny. It feels like you were in the room with them. Whereas these shows are just like weird. Anyway, back to Brendan Schaub's amazing intro. So he sits these guys down, and obviously he's, for whatever reason, he decides to do the intros of everyone that he's got on the show off the top of his head. So number one, he finds it hard to remember shit. He's bad with names, and he just generally just doesn't care about enunciating or speaking clearly or trying to do a good job in terms of how he, communicates on his podcast at all. He just kind of flies, he just goes, as he basically says. And this intro might be one of the most funniest ones because he fucks up everybody's intro in some kind of way. But I think this was absolutely hilarious.
Live, welcome to Calabasas Fight Campaign. I have quite the crew here for Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul. To my left is the Golden Boy 2.0. He has the biggest fight of his life coming up, Gervonta Tank Davis. It is the Well, so I'm supposed to be fought. Yeah, of course, going to start playing with me. Undefeated Ryan Garcia.
I don't know where I'm looking, but
yeah.
Yes.
Well, right now you're looking at me.
Just kidding.
Yeah, okay. Do you have a thing you do when people say, like, you just did a little air punch? Yeah, just one fist up.
When there's like, hey, let's get a picture.
Do you have a song what is the song you come out to? What's your walkout?
Usually it's Superstar by Lupe Fiasco.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good song.
If you are what you say you are,
Yeah.
You like to have a message in the intro, right?
Kind of, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Mine would be Color Me Bad's I Want to Sex You Up.
You know what?
Oh, that might scare the guys.
Yep.
Well, let me finish with intro.
For sure, I thought we were going into
it. The guy who wants the Color Me Bad intro is, I wish we could play right now, is Adam Ray. The dude is all over. You're on Tom and Pammy, right? You're on freaking, was it Young Rock? You're on freaking your podcast about last night. You're all over, bud.
A lot going on, man.
Crushed it last night at the Ice House.
Ice House is fun, yeah. A new
Ice
look.
House is back. We'll get to it.
Yeah, it's back, yeah.
And then the gentleman over there.
By the way, does anybody still listen to it about last night? I used to listen to it quite a lot. I don't know is he still doing it with the guy that got cancelled for a bit, the smaller dude. What's his name? Brad Williams. Is that still on? Do people still listen to it? Because I find Adam Ray pretty funny. He was actually good. I don't know why I stopped listening to the show. Maybe because it got cancelled. He got cancelled. They stopped recording it. But I thought about last night was quite good. But maybe I'm mistaken.
Over there, he's the richest man in the room, most successful person I know. Really? He's been famous since I've been alive, and I was introduced to him from, it's still one of my favorite movies, Little Monsters. Now my son watches it. He loves it. He's on America's Got Talent.
America's Got Talent? Yeah, I don't know if that's how you...
Imagine saying America Got Talent. Like, how do you say gots? Like, how do you just add the S? In my opinion, like I said previously, I don't think it's a speech impediment thing. I legitimately think he just doesn't care enough about enunciating and just speaking in general. He just doesn't care because in his head he thinks, hey, you know what I'm saying though. Because I think he said it as a joke, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm trying to get at. You know where I'm basically trying to go. Stop being a grammar police, right? And just let me rock. Like that's what he basically in. He's not about like, hey, I don't know his words, I can't pronounce them, CTE. Nah, he just doesn't care about pronouncing things properly or just saying things right because he kind of figures out that you'll finally get to the point anyway. But also look at his face when he gets corrected. He's not used to it. He kind of short circuits, and it kind of turns into this thing for the majority of the show. But it's interesting to see how little this happens to him in his life. People just kind of let him get away with it because, you know, it doesn't take well to being corrected. He's a bigger dude. You don't want to scare him and, you know, have him Chris Benoit you. But it's just funny how odd he reacts to somebody kind of poking fun at him getting the name completely wrong and butchering the whole thing. Let's go back a little bit.
Watches it. He loves it. He's on America's Got Talent.
America's Got Talent?
Yeah, I don't know if that's how you say that. Yeah, we'll cut that out.
Welcome to America's Got Talent.
We'll edit that
America's Got Talent.
We'll edit that out.
Speaking is not one of them.
Speaking's not one of them. You don't want me to be on there or Jeopardy. You don't want to be in there.
Howie.
That's Howie.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing this, my man. You took an early flight.
I would have. I did. I was in.
He's so rowdy. Honestly, man, he fucked up all the intros in some way with his pronunciation, and then he gets to fucking Howie Mandel, and he's got one of the easiest shows to really pronounce in terms of America's Got Talent, and it's just America's Got Talents, or even, you know, he even doesn't say America's, he says America Got Talents. It's like, what? What did you just say there, bro? Like, come on, man, figure it out. But yeah, I thought that was absolutely hilarious. So big up Brendan Shaw for continuing to do the things, because I think that's absolutely crazy. Unless of course speak about the awkward. No, let's go straight to the jugular. Actually, I think the jugular is around. When is it around? No, actually, let's go by the steps of the show. So. After that, obviously, bit where I basically stopped it, the rest of the show continued in the most awkward manner ever. Yeah, because again, these are 3-4 people that don't really know each other too well. Only on podcasts they've really spoken at any kind of extended length, and now they're trying to like small talk and shit talk in between to try and break the ice and get comfortable with each other before they spend 4 hours together in a room together. Like Adam Ray leaves before that, but they spend 4 hours in the room together. They don't really know each other too well, and this is them trying to, like, you know, get down and talk to each other and have a good time. The dislike bar here is absolutely crazy, isn't it, as well? God damn. But anyway, let's continue and watch this. Let's see the awkward little ice breaking session they have here.
I just posted on my story. I said I was in Dubai, and you called and said, "Hey, do you want to watch the fight?" I was supposed to be there another day, so I flew in because I don't want to miss the fight.
You flew back from Dubai
to see this.
Just to do this.
Oh, all right.
Isn't the fight in Dubai?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
yeah. He'd rather be here.
That's friendship. Dude. That's true friendship.
Yeah, that's it. It's also Calabasas.
I love. What do you guys think is going on here? Do you think Brendan pays a lot of money, or do you think genuinely these guys are actually friends and they just want to help each other out? Because if you're Howie Mandel and you're of his level of fame, like he's an actual, you know, well-known household name, you'd imagine, with being an America's Got Talent and everything else he did before that. What would really make you leave what I would imagine is probably a corporate gig out there in Dubai, you know, doing what rich, successful white people do over there, to come back to USA to sit down in a rinky-dink studio, you know, surrounded by a curtain, watching a fight on mute? Like, what would make you do that? You have to get paid a decent amount of money, you'd imagine, right? But what's decent? Can Brendan actually afford to be paying people like tens of thousands, like hundreds of grand? Really? If that's what the pod's making, is he got investors in the back doing that? I don't know, but it's pretty nuts.
The Dubai of Southern California.
Yes.
Adam, last night, Ice House, my man, it's back.
Ice House is back.
Back with vengeance.
Yeah, it's the Lakers more or less bought it, right, and did a little makeover on it. You know,
it's definitely different.
It's different. There's like a private room that they try to like model after the Lakers, you know, VIP lounge at the Forum.
The Lakers own the Ice House now.
Yeah. Well, Johnny Buss, Jerry's son, got it going, and it's all right. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's a good
You
crowd.
do miss anytime something gets like completely.
Oh,
you know,
this might explain why that. No, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. But this might explain why that Jenny Buss woman is friends with That's why they probably bought it, because isn't she like engaged to a comedian? I think it might be the same guy that like kind of bullied Bert Kreischer earlier in his career. I forgot the guy's name. Another nondescript white guy. I'm pretty sure she's engaged to some comedian, but she's plugged into the comedy world. that would make sense why she maybe bought the ice house, and kind of had that under the flipping. I'd imagine so, right? I'd think so. But I also find it interesting that Brendan's kind of latching onto it, because clearly he's not at the Comedy Store anymore, so he needs a permanent residence that he can kind of call home. And maybe Laugh Factory isn't where it once was for him, so Ice House are probably a bit more open to having him play there because he sells tickets, isn't it? Maybe he's the one. Maybe.
Redone. I think you miss a little bit of, you get nostalgic for
Does it
the
look
way
different?
it was. Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah, big up Space Guy for the heads up. Exactly, Jay Moore. That's who I think she's engaged with. Not sure if she still is, but I do know that was her kind of in with the comedy crowd. And she likes to laugh as well, because I remember her being on Thea Vaughan's podcast. She was Jenny. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jenny. I remember listening to Jenny Buss talk about herself and her career on flipping Thea Vaughan's podcast, and she came across really well. She's really funny, and she likes to giggle, so that would make more sense why she's probably with Jay Moore and shit, and plugged in with the comedy world overall. But yeah, the awkward flipping small talk is hilarious here.
I haven't been there. Wow.
Yeah,
completely different.
Is the crowd still the same though? Is it good?
Crowd's still the same.
It's always been a good crowd.
Pretty wild last night.
I'd say better management now.
Yeah, a lot of people.
They're a little more on it.
For sure.
When did they buy
Not that
it?
they were bad 3 years ago.
Wow.
And then they shut it down during the pandemic and just dumped a ton of money into it.
You been to the Ice House, Ryan?
I have no clue what you guys talking about.
It's comedy club.
We like to hang out where they make ice, like because it's a place. You ever go to the gas station and you get those bags of ice?
You get those bags of ice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So and you buy the bag of ice just to distract from the fact you're buying condoms.
So
at the
these
gas
guys
station.
hang out.
Anyway, you see how awkward this small talk is? This is what happens when you invite 4 people that don't know each other from different generations to try and hang out and be cool and have a good time. But the main part of this that I want to talk about is obviously the pièce de résistance, or what you would maybe deem as the piss de resistance, right? Is this clip where Howie Mandel decides
lit up a little bit more.
Where Howie Mandel decides to confront Brendan about the sink pissing allegations. And Brendan, as always, when he's actually confronted with things, instead of leaning into it, making a joke out of it, but because people are laughing at him and he's not laughing at himself and not making it something that he's saying, he immediately went into the defensive and tried to lie about it. Even though we have evidence of him admitting that he pisses in the sink, we have evidence of BGL saying that he does it all the time. We have evidence and now video of producer Nick on his podcast, clearly drunk, clearly perked or benzoed up, basically shouting at people and telling them that they're the losers for not pissing in their own sink, and if you own a place, you should piss in anywhere you want to go piss in. Clearly, this is something he does on a regular basis, and then he tried to lie to Howie Mandel's face because he felt embarrassed and he felt, basically ambushed, quote unquote. This was prime time TV for me. Prime time TV. Take it away, Howie Mandel.
On my Twitter feed lit up a little bit more to say, don't go to the bathroom there because you piss in the sink.
Where?
What?
Did they said that you
look his face
said this out loud?
Wait,
Does he piss in the sink
don't
here?
go to, I've done it maybe.
He asks Chin behind him, and Chin doesn't want to say nothing. He's scared because he knows where his butt is breaded.
Seen it once.
Okay, but
I mean,
so that was the whole thing.
emergency.
Nobody's talking about the fight. Everybody was saying, Howie, how are you going to go there? He pisses in the sink. Brendan's talked about he pissed in the sink.
I had to pee in the sink one time. It was a state of emergency.
I'll be honest.
Where was the toilet?
You know what I love about this conversation? It's really funny. I'm hoping someone makes a cut of it. He's trying to look for help. He's looking at Ryan Garcia, who's the badass boxer kid. He's looking at Adam Ray, the comedic peer, and he's looking at them for like help to bail him out. Because if Ryan Garcia, the badass, undefeated boxer who's destined for great things, who's got a big, amazing fight coming up, who everyone kind of likes on social media, if he says it's cool, then immediately no one can say nothing to him because Ryan Garcia said it. And if Adam Ray, who's a funny, kooky comedian who doesn't take himself too seriously, if he co-signs it, immediately it's cool. But they're just leaving him. He's just sinking out here. Like he's feeling hot. He's taking off his jacket. He can't stand the heat. He's trying to, no, but yeah, but it's it's one time.
I mean, you gotta have a key. It's like Alcatraz. It's a dicey security.
I'll be honest. If I met you on the street and somebody pointed at you and was like, "That guy's a sink pisser," and then ran away, I probably would go, "Yeah, that checks out."
That tracks.
Yeah,
that tracks.
Yeah, the face usually matches the crime, but also you seem like you carry yourself with a swagger of like, if I gotta go, I'm gonna go right now.
Oh, it was. I mean, I'm telling you, it was terror level 5.
How
it was
did you
either pissing my pants on air or
hold on? What's it? They say tear. Instead of say tier. Tier level 5. He said tear level 5. Let's go back there again.
Like you carry yourself with a swagger of like, if I gotta go, I'm gonna go right now.
Oh, it was. I mean, I'm telling you, it was terror level 5.
Okay.
How
it was
did you?
either pissing my pants on air
tear.
or doing it right there behind the sheet.
Well, next time commit to the bit and just see what happens. Right?
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
If you piss your
Probably could get
pants,
some views.
One word, catheter.
Oh, it's not bad.
You don't have to ever leave.
Or depends, right?
It depends.
Yeah.
Yes. Pamper yourself.
Oh.
What is the age you think depends you can start doing it and people don't judge you?
22.
I tried to. They were gonna.
Anyway, you saw the clip there. Brendan clearly still pisses in the sink. He tried to deny it to flipping germaphobe Howie Mandel. And the funny thing is, from what people have been saying on the forums, is that I don't think Howie Mandel realized what sink he actually pisses in. I think they thought what I thought originally, because I think some people in the I think some people in my comments are like, "Oh, everyone's pissing things." Like, yeah, like in an emergency, like the sink in the toilet. Like for instance, like sometimes if you work in a particular place, or maybe in sometimes some homes, for whatever reason, the toilet sink is like not next to the bathroom. It's like, or next to the toilet. It's somewhere else. Maybe it's outside it for whatever reason. Some places are built weird. Or maybe those porta cabin things where they have like the sink outside. So if you're bursting and you really need to go and someone's locked in the toilet, like, using it, you can quickly piss in the toilet sink. But then you just wash it down, you kind of see the emergency, blah, blah, blah. But what he doesn't realize, Howie Mandel, is that Brendan Schaub pisses in the communal kitchen sink. Because that's the one that's not away from the studio, because he already said himself, it's like tier level, it's like a big deal. You have to get a key. You don't have to get a key. You're probably given the key to use. They can go and use the flipping thing, but he just probably always forgets it. So there's obviously a toilet they use in the office space building that he rents out his studio. And I'm sure it has like a key card, but he probably just always forgets it. So because the sink toilet is in the same studio, we already see the video of his studio tour, it's there in the same place, he just uses that sink because he can't bother to leave the studio to go around the corner, wherever it may be. So that's what Howie Mandel doesn't realize. That sink that he's going to be pouring water in his cup to get some water, maybe, I don't know, just chilling, whatever, washing some fruits, whatever he's going to be doing in that sink, he doesn't know that it's going to be filled with Bappa's urine. Bappa's urine is swimming and is splashed all over there. And plus, as someone else said, he's definitely the type of person that would let his little winky, rest on the side of that sink as he's pissing. So all that little winky flesh meat prints are going to be all over that sink. All the Bappa's urine, induced, coffee drenched, whiskey sprinkled urine stains are going to be splattered all over the sides of that flipping kitchen bath sink. But unfortunately, I think it's black. If that whole unit is black, so you can't probably see it. All right, it probably won't come up too tough, and it's all over there. So if somebody like a germaphobe like Howie Mandel, that would be enough to give you a flipping stroke. So I thought that absolutely hilarious. I thought that was legitimately hilarious. And then I wanted to quickly check here to see how many times, should I do piss? Yeah, let's do piss. I want to see how many times in this podcast, after the kind of the 70th minute mark, did they mention piss? Because it felt like they were trolling Brendan the entire time that this was happening, because of when they realized the flipping, he's a flipping sink pisser. It kind of was the only thing on their mind, especially Howie Mandel, because I guess he slowly started to come to a realization that he can't actually use anything in the studio because it's all probably covered in some sort of piss stains. So let's see what they said in this transcript. Let's see if I can check it here. I want to see how many times the words piss were mentioned in this podcast, because I feel like it was an exorbitant amount of times, because it felt like Brendan was getting teased all the bloody time about the sink pissing, and he didn't know what to do. He tried to fight it. Oh man, come on, don't be like that. He tried to fight it. He tried to not make it be a thing, but it just kept happening again and again and again. Let me close this thing down. Hopefully it kind of helps it. Don't make me restart it, I beg of you. Please don't make me exit. Come on, computer, hang in there. Let's see how many times flipping sink or piss was mentioned in this chat. Hopefully it loads. Oh, it doesn't load, does it? Okay, let's exit then. and let's start again. Fuck it. But definitely one of the funniest clips I've seen in a long time, considering we're talking about thick boy type of stuff. Let's reload this quickly and see if we can get this up again. But I guess the number's going to be pretty high. Let's see how much the number is. I really am curious to see how many times Piss was mentioned in this show, because over a 4-hour period, it felt like Adam Ray and flipping Howie Mandel were on fucking Brendan's head with this sink piss.
In the air or doing it right there behind the sheets?
Well, next time, commit to the bit,
tear. Absolutely amazing, man. His pronunciation, I love it. Tear, here. Come on, brother. There we go. Let's get this up again. Oh, the transcript over here. Click the button. Let's see how many times it got up. Hopefully it loads out and doesn't flipping kill me. Bear with me 1 minute, people. Hopefully it loads. It's loading. Bear with me a sec. Here we go. Cool. Here we go. It's coming up now. Let's see what they're saying, because I think it's gonna be less. I think it's, my theory is probably over 100. It should be over 100 in terms of the sink pissing thing. I think so. Ball hair on the tap. Exactly. Ball hair on the tap. Oh my god! Imagine the pube hairs. Oh, I can't do it. Let's hide this chat. Is it gonna load or not? Maybe my computer just isn't hacked for this sort of stuff. This is the goodness of the world that we live in. I might have to bail on this topic because it isn't working. Buddy, yep. Doesn't work. But anyway, you get the gist. Piss was mentioned a few times on the show. Epic fail. Okay, move on. So, next on this, let's talk about a few other clips that we got here, and let's just move on. Word search. Oh, you word search on, it's from the desktop app only, Uche. You click on the little 2 dots on the far next to the flipping up down bit thing, whatever it may be, and then you click it and it says transcripts at the end. Then when the transcripts load, you press Control F on your Chrome screen or whatever web browser you use, and then you search for whatever you want to use, and then obviously it will search the box of transcript as well. So whatever terminal you see in a transcript, it will come up as well. So it's a pretty easy method, but it works pretty well, to be fair. I'm not gonna lie. So here's another clip someone clipped over from the Final Clip subreddit, which I thought was pretty funny, and this is features Brendan Shaw basically saying that he's not somebody. No, Howie Mandel says controversy seems to follow Brendan. And Brendan says, no, it doesn't. He's a positive guy, which I think is funny. Because if controversy keeps following you and you say you're positive, maybe you might not be as positive as you think you are. But again, what do I know?
And Chris D'Elia, Santino, Callen, Rogan, Joey Diaz, all these great comics. So being around that, trying to keep up with it's like my training camp for stand-up.
And you... what about controversy? Controversy seems to follow you a lot.
Unfortunately.
I love how blunt Howie Mandel is. What about you being friends with like rapists and diddlers? Why does that seem to always happen? How about you becoming the refuge for the lost and cancelled? Why is that?
So you don't stir it up.
Notice I never entertain it. I don't like to entertain it. People will take shots at me nonstop. It'll get them views, but notice it's very rare you'll see me entertain that. I don't like that. I don't like negativity. I'm a positive person.
That's obviously a lie, but also, wouldn't you question it a little bit if you're such a positive person? Because I don't think what positive person out there who generally is good vibes gets a lot of hate. I can't think of one. There's many people some people like to troll, but I can't think of somebody that's super positive that gets hated on, legitimately hated on. People get teased. People confuse getting teased online and people laughing at the dumb things that you say or not taking you seriously as getting hate. It's not hate. It's getting teased. Like I remember there was that video of YK Osiris crying and complaining that Drake and Migos aren't returning his phone calls or something because he thought they were actually friends. That isn't hate or whatever, or people hating and crying. No, people taking the piss at him crying about that sort of stuff. They're not haters. They're teasing you because you're being a silly Billy. That's what it is. And I think the same thing applies for these type of dudes. Like they just, you just laugh at what they say and what they do because it's funny and because they're redacted, but it's never that serious. But also sometimes if you are getting an undue amount of vitriol coming your way, you maybe have to analyze and look in the mirror and see exactly what you're doing wrong. That's really getting under people's skin. Like, could it be something that you're doing that really pisses people off? Maybe. Who knows? Maybe.
So I don't, there's enough negativity in the world. So I don't hate anybody. I have no issues with anybody. They might have issues with me. And I get it, especially when it comes to the stand-up world.
I hate that also. That's that passive-aggressive thing of like, you do all these fucked up things to people, but then I remember the Bobby Lee thing said the same thing, man. I love you, man. He said, yeah, I wish I could say the same thing about you. It's like, you can't do fucked up things to me, and then you are okay to forgive me, and then I immediately have to forgive you, or it makes you, or somehow you come out being the good guy in it. I don't know, you know what I mean? It's like a toxic positivity apology type of thing. It's a really manipulative tactic. You do something to piss me off, I get annoyed, I confront you about it, but then you kind of try and spin it as if like you're okay and you're fine. But it's like, no, I've got the issue with you. You started this issue. I'm confronting you about it. And that's like, I still love you, man. It's like, huh?
Because I came from UFC where I had a fan base. I come over to...
Anyway, yeah. So, if you want to hurt me, brother, you hurt me. But yeah, I found it absolutely hilarious. Controversy used to follow you around all over the place. It's like, yeah, I don't attract it. It's like, maybe you do, mate, if it follows you all the time. Maybe you're the most like, drama-filled comedian out there, which maybe makes me think that clip that I loaded before where I said, oh, who's Joe Rogan talking about? Or Joe Rogan destroys Brendan Schaub. Did Joe Rogan destroy Brendan Schaub? Maybe that clip that I made, this is what I'm trying to get at, because he kept saying any comedian that's involved in drama is terrible comedian. And one thing we can all say here is that Brendan isn't necessarily the greatest at stand-up, is he? But he always seems to be embroiled in some sort of drama. So maybe Rogan was talking about Brendan. Maybe. Who knows? I doubt it because, these guys like to protect their own. But it could be a thing. It could be a thing. Moving on from that one, this is a good clip as well from that same Fight Companion of Brendan talking about his fish tanks and them teasing him. I think this is absolutely hilarious. And I think Luke Thomas has basically spoken about it. But in general, anyway, I think it is quite suspicious when, guys of a certain age get into stuff like fish. It's just weird. But it's not really weird because, like I said before, like I find it quite endearing when I see like grown men get hobbies, because I feel like there's not much to do if you're a grown guy and you don't like going to clubs, or you don't like going to bars, or maybe you're not into sports. Like, what else are you meant to do if you don't play video games? Like, there aren't many hobbies to get into. So if you suddenly start collecting snakes and lizards and shit and start buying fish and whatnot, I think more power to you. Enjoy yourself, innit? Like, go balls deep into it. But if you see on the subreddit, there's a really cool subreddit where people talk about their fish tanks and shit. They take that stuff seriously. It's an actual thing. Like, people go out their way to like make sure they don't kill their fishes, to make the conditions great in there, to show off what they got, LEDs, everything. Like, it's crazy. The world of having fish and all that shit. Well, I don't know what you call it, being an Aquarius. I don't know what it's called, but it's clearly quite an interesting thing. But for Brendan, he's used it as like a weird opportunity to get a personality. Simple as that. He's not anybody. He doesn't have anything else going on in his life, so let me just get this personality and jump onto it. Same thing that he did with the bikes. Same thing he was doing with the supposed running club. Same thing he was doing with what else? Whiskey. It's just weird things he just latches onto to kind of give him some level of a personality. So I think him getting called out about the fish stuff is really interesting because, one, he's not good at it because it requires patience, time, attention to detail, common sense. Forward planning and shit. It's kind of a full-time job to kind of look after them and make it work, especially if you're buying loads of exotic stuff that he's buying. But yeah, I thought this clip was amazing. Adam Ray and basically Howie Mandel dunking on him with the whole fish thing, and him not realizing.
You get more fish in that tank.
No, I don't want to I like them to feel each fish to feel special.
You want them to have some room.
You have a crowded tank?
I won't say crowded. I've 3 tanks.
Ooh, look at you.
Well, no.
I know.
Hey,
some flex there, right?
No. How you could turn this entire studio into a tank? Yeah.
What do you have in the tanks?
Oh, do you want to go down this road, dude? I have 2 arowanas, 2 flower horns.
Can you make up fish and have people still think that's what's an
arowana? Arowana is a fish that's in.
It's like a piranha, but it eats air.
I love that. I was going to say an iguana that works at Air One.
No, they actually call them.
Howie Mandel's the king of the dad jokes, isn't it? What, Ryan Garcia? Oh, what's the ice house? It's like a place where you go buy ice. You know, when you go to the petrol station and you want ice, and you get some of those bags. We're talking about one that's like, what? And now this arowana, it's a piranha that instead of eating flesh, it eats air. Like, Howie, man, stay in your lane, Papa.
Monkey fish, because they'll jump out of the water and grab like mice or squirrels in trees.
You just got
so
those
you have
as
to
pets?
put, yeah, you have to put a cobra.
They
over
jump
the top.
out of the water to grab squirrels.
Squirrels.
Where are
monkeys.
there fish in waters near?
You see, he's so used to talking to Bryan, Callen, you know, Chin, you know, who's sometimes not even there half of the time. He's there spirit only, and whoever else is on the show. He's so he's just like talking and no one ever addressing or confronting or clearing up or questioning what he says, that he just is used to just fucking making shit up. So here he's kind of, everyone's like, what are you saying, huh? Because that's what normal people do when they have conversations with people that talk a lot of shit. You just kind of tease them for it. But he's not used to it. Look at his face. That's the face of somebody that if the jokes go too far, he's gonna C-clamp you. He's gonna run you over in his Ford Bronco, right? Or he's gonna Chris Benoit you, right? He's boiling. That's a kettle face there. That's right. That's that whistle, mate. That kettle was boiling. A few more words, and he might turn off the cameras, and it's gonna get dark in that bad boy. You know, family and friends are gonna have to start wearing airbrush t-shirts, right? Like people got to start setting GoFundMe's up for fucking funerals. Like it's gonna be deep.
Trees with squirrels.
Now,
like I've never in a lake.
Oh, you've never seen an Amazon squirrel, Howie?
Oh my god!
Chin, look that up.
Amazon squirrel.
No,
Amazon
what?
squirrel.
No,
Yeah,
Chin,
to me.
Chin, bring this up.
The comedian really fumbling and being put into a corner, having no ability to kind of get out of this embarrassing dunking on and pressing by these amateurs. It's quite brutal to watch, right? Regular civilians compared to him, in terms of Howie Mandel, in terms of comedy, or maybe not because he did stand up for a bit, but still, like, you know, supposed murderer, supposed beast cannot get out of being ripped on upon to kind of dunk on the other guy. You can't get out of it by just kind of poking back at Howie Mandel, you know, whatever else. You just can't get out of it. He's like looking for help now. Chin, help, look up, Google this.
From his home base in Calabasas.
Well, no, I gotta dangle.
Never seen an Amazon squirrel,
bro. I gotta dangle the mouse.
No, it's like
I gotta dangle the mouse. No, bring up arowana leaping out of the water. It's insane.
What
So I have to
made
put a
you-
cover over the top.
Anyway, I found it absolutely hilarious. Big up Brendan for attempting to try and make the fact that he, you know, owns fish and has free tanks somewhat entertaining. The people on the show not giving an absolute fuck, railroading everything he says, and him trying desperately to make a joke out of it, it not working, then dunking him again and again and again, and it just being an absolutely redacted mess. But it was fun to see, no regard. So let's move on to that one, and let's talk about what do we talk about here. Such a good thing. Oh, let's talk about the Joey Diaz clip. Where's that Joey Diaz clip? Let's talk about F. This is really good. Where's the Joey Diaz? What's people saying in the chat? Yeah, Bobby D's problem is horrendous. Bobby D? Who's Bobby D? What's Bobby D? Whose problem? Who's got Bobby's problems? Who's Bobby? Bert D is going through alcohol. Bert's D is going through alcoholic withdrawals. Who's Bobby D? What's happened to Bobby D? Who's Bobby D? Is Bobby D dying? KS Bobby D. KS Bobby D. Huh? KS not Bobby D. Que cosa Bobby D? Oh, we're talking about comics with dirtiest dicks. Okay, God. Man, why did I get involved in this conversation? I don't want to be talking about no comics dicks. Yeah. Let's go. So this is Joey Diaz loosely talking about Brendan, but also Jesus Christ, I'm infected with Chauvinese. So this is Joey Diaz talking about Brendan, but also talking about SYATT in a roundabout way. But I find this interesting because Joey Diaz has kind of been suffering from, like, I don't know, some sort of something in terms of when it comes to criticizing Brendan, because in one time he will say some really cutting remarks about Brendan. You know, how flipping, what's her name? Missy Shaw would have never passed him at the comedy show if she was still alive. She would never let him on the stage. He has no business being on there. Next time saying he's the greatest guy, the bestest guy. And now he's basically saying that how the reason why he treated Lee the way he did, in terms of his stand-up career, didn't really try to help him out and give him much of a kind of cosign, was because he didn't want him to end up like Brendan Schaub, which is essentially, you know, basically talking down on Brendan and his career and saying everything you want to say without saying anything at all, or without actually directly addressing it. So this is Joey Diaz.
No, from time to time I have a hard time breathing. He goes, listen, this is anxiety. Let me give you these pills. He gave me those football Xanaxes. So, I don't know. I would take them, 1 or 2 when I felt it, and then leave them at home. I would be out at night, and I would get anxiety. But it never bothered me again. After that bout at the store, I'll never forget, I had Rogan that week, and I had to go on Rogan and tell him the story. And as we were leaving, he's like, bro, that sounds crazy. I didn't explain it. I wasn't totally honest with everybody about it, but I blacked out, guys. And after that, my anxiety level started going up. After that Netflix thing, I don't know what happened to me. Something wasn't right. And guess what, guys?
To be fair to Joey Diaz, I know some of you guys are saying he looks vintage and stuff, but he has lost a bunch of weight. And if anything, I believe Joey Diaz's drug stories. I know some people don't believe them and think he's lying all the time, but I think if you legitimately have done the amount of drugs that Joey Diaz did, and if you see pictures of Joey Diaz when he's young, he's actually legitimately handsome. Like, he was a good looking dude. Even the way he used to stand was different. He never had the hunchback. Like, he was like an athlete. He used to play basketball and shit. Like, he looked actually good back in the day. But if he was doing coke and shit when he was like, I don't know, 13 or whatever, when his mum died and shit, and just being around the most sketchiest, dodgiest people from day dot, it's no surprise he ended up looking the way he does. Like, those things take their toll on you, even when you get sober. That's why people say probably you should avoid all those things in general or quit as soon as possible, because it does catch up on you. It doesn't stop something you can kind of run away from. So he's lived a hard life, but he's trying to get right now, and I feel like he's definitely more right than wrong. I feel like if Joey Diaz was doing the things he's doing prior, you would best be able to tell. But this is what happens, isn't it? This is kind of the consequences of it. I think he's basically a good cautionary tale in that regard.
I got up all the way to, I was 340.
Yeah, Ambika X. I'm screwed, NB. Yeah, me too. Don't worry, Ambika X. Me too.
I'm 336. I was smoking God knows how much. I was eating God knows how much. My diet was okay, but my sleeping wasn't good. And when you're not sleeping good, you're not thinking clearly. You know, the sleep apnea wasn't affecting me, but the fucking sleeping 5 hours, having to fly, having to sleep 2 hours, all that shit wears on your system. I didn't fucking know it. Who knows it? Who fucking knows it? We're fucking gangsters. You know what I'm saying? We don't have time to fucking bleed. And guys, somewhere around that time, I'm like, I gotta start eating these fucking Xanaxes. So here I'm eating the Xanaxes. And at the time I was eating maybe 2 a day. I was eating 1 in the morning and 1 at night.
Jesus Christ, brother. For whatever reason, again, I know it's probably because of their workload, but the way Xanax took a grip on that comedy store scene, or just comedians in general, was wild, didn't it? It's like they all found this like secret happy drug or something. Like, they all latched onto it so quickly, like super fast. Like, they all kind of got hooked on it in their own ways. I'm sure some of them silently, probably, Joey Diaz, to be fair to him, is only the only ones who kind of is honest about it and speaks about it quite frankly, even though I think Red Bar took the piss out of him about it. But this really affected people negatively in the comedy scene for a long time, Xanax, man. Like, for a long time. People were talking glowingly about it, like they discovered this new flipping fruity starburst thing, but the effects on Xanax and the grip it can have on people is absolutely crazy.
Sleep, and they were fine. And I'm not drinking on them, thank God. And I'm smoking weed like a motherfucker. I'm taking edibles like a motherfucker. I'm eating hash like a motherfucker. You know, I asked Lee the other day, I go, Lee, remember those bottles of liquid we were drinking? They were 200 milligrams. We would drink one of those just to, when I saw him, they were like an aperitif. Like, hey, what's going on? Take a tube. And Lee would go, not again. And he'd drink it, you know. And between the Xanax, the edibles, right then and there, 2017 was where I started a drop. I felt a drop in my connection with Lee was dropping. Lee was starting comedy, and I was very happy for him, but I didn't want him to become a Brendan Schaub, like for people to go after Brent. Like, I didn't want people to go after Lee how they went after Brendan. I appreciate what Brendan did, But at the end of the day, a lot of you people are right. He was given too much too fast. I love Brendan. I'm not saying nothing bad about him. What happened was that you don't react well to that when you're a young comic. You don't, guys. All that up front, the third or second year is not healthy for anybody. And I looked after Lee, and I kept him at home. He went on the road with me some weeks.
The thing that's really annoying about this conversation, and people saying this now, is that this was the original criticism. I remember when the Fighter and the Kid subreddit started popping off and getting where it got to, before it started to get a little bit dark and a little bit vengeful, and they started to like troll the wife, and people were posting pictures of the kids. Now it's stopped now. They kind of reined it in, but it's still a little bit mean-spirited, I think, in some respects. I think there's some people on there who generally do want to see Brendan sort of crash and burn and have to work out a fucking Wendy's. But before then, people on the forum were just basically saying, hey, on the subreddit, this guy has been given a special before he should be able to get. He doesn't deserve a special. He's not funny enough. Like, he hasn't been doing it long enough. Doesn't have to do open mics, only performance in front of his own fans. It's insane. Why has he got a special now? He shouldn't have one. And the retort you kept getting back from comedians was like, you were getting hating. He's good. Like, just kind of like the refusal to admit that special was given to him too soon, the Showtime special. But the worst thing of that was that in the end, Brendan knew that to be true, because he, later on down the line, he revealed the fact that his own close friends told him not to take the fucking deal from Showtime. They said, don't do it. But he did it anyway because he thought his friends were hating. So this guy that everyone was trying to talk sense into and appeal to his better nature and appeal to his common sense, he was already lost. Brendan was already deluded and big-headed and didn't think he did anything wrong, and I'm a great guy, I'm a nice guy, the best of the guy, the beast of dad. He already thought that from back then when You'd Be Surprised came out. So if anything, the fact that he's got more fame and more money, he's actually a worse version of himself than he was prior then, because he's way more further down his career. So it's just annoying that this same guy as well, again, the other day, when it was, I think it was John Bernthal, right? The guy that did I forgot, anyway, the actor, he's sitting down with him and they're waxing lyrical about Brendan, say he's a great guy. It's just like, and trying to basically say that they don't understand the hate he gets. And I think if you're a comedy fan, if you're a comedy purist, and you see someone like Brendan getting a Showtime special after 2 years in comedy, and the guy's not funny, you watch the special, it's absolutely trash, you're allowed to be annoyed by it. And you're allowed maybe to be annoyed by him for not being willing to understand why people probably hate on the special and hate on him because they think he doesn't deserve it, he shouldn't have got it. And when he did the final product, he wasted everyone's time. It was absolutely terrible. Like, that's the one thing, and people didn't want to admit it. And only now, later down the line, that's why we have to thank him. We have to thank Annie Liederman. We got to thank Kalila. We got to thank Esther. We got to thank all these people, maybe even Uniques, right, for leaking that video of him giving that girl her number, allegedly. We got to thank all these people, because without them kind of breaking that wall down of like, okay, let's openly dissing these people, no one would have been brave enough to say these things. Because when Brendan was Joe Rogan's best friend and Joe Rogan was still living in LA, no one would have said this. Everyone would have been like, kind of pretending it's not happening, mute, and just leaving it. But the fact that those girls stood up and said what they said and kind of, in a way, maybe risked their careers for it, especially Annie, if you believe what people say about her being banned from Joe Rogan podcast and shit for revealing the Trunk Walk story. If that's the case, those girls deserve a lot of credit, because they not only exposed, those guys, but also kind of let it be, turn the tide in terms of comfortability for everyone to kind of speak openly about dissing those people and teasing them and saying whatever they want to say. But I just find it hilarious coming from Joey Diaz, because this has always been the case. He kind of talks out of both sides of his mouth when it comes to Brendan. On one side, he kind of finds it hard to criticize because I guess it's Joe Rogan's friend and maybe he likes Brendan too. But on the other side, he even said himself, I think he went on the Fighting the Kid once, didn't he? Remember that there's that clip of Joey Diaz with Brendan where he said he didn't talk to him for a while because he didn't like that he took stand-up. He thought, he was going to be shit or something. It's some weird clip. Do you remember this clip? Where is it? Like, so it's interesting that he defends him, then takes the piss out of him, then defends and takes the piss out of him. It's fucking bizarre. Let me see if I can get it on here. Yeah, there we go. No, that's not the one. Where is it? Where is he? It's where he sits down with him on the Fighting the Kid. That's the one, right? Yeah, this is the one, yeah. Joey Diaz explains to Brendan Schaub why he didn't like him doing comedy. This is something that he did to Brendan face to face. Like, this is probably quite bad. Let's see this. Come on.
I compare comedy to MMA every fucking day.
How so?
My comedy changed since I became a fan of MMA because there's so many aspects that go into MMA, the same way of so many aspects that go into comedy. Let's take the elephant out of the room. I've always loved you. Yeah. I've always loved you. I've had a great...
Anytime someone says something like that, especially an older dude, you know it's going to be some like, you know, some not so nice things are going to come out here. Some brutally honest things. Let's take the elephant out of the room. Let's take the elephant out of the room. You know, I've always loved you. You know, I was always caring about you. Right? But you're a Fanuc. You're a Manuku. You're a... Let's do this.
Great respect for you. You get punched in the fucking head. Not a lot of people could get punched in the head. You decided one day you didn't want to do this. You didn't want to fight no more. You didn't see it anymore.
Look, Brendan's got that little twitch. I recognize. He's still got that trick, that twitch he still does, where he kind of like bites the side of his mouth when he gets nervous, when he's feeling a little bit, you know, a little bit awkward, a little bit put into a corner.
What you had,
but he's way more skinnier here, innit? He looks such in better shape. You can tell him from his legs, from his arms. This is definitely the face of a guy that doesn't drink a lot of whiskey. Like, you know, even his flipping what you call it? What this thing called again? Man bun thing. His little ponytail looks a lot better here. Look how chiseled his face looks. Look at that. No bunch. No, what you call it? No stung by bees in his face. He legitimately looks like an ex-fighter, right? That you'd imagine, right? Someone in quite good nick. Talk about the shape of his legs, even alone. Now all of his trousers have elastic on them, so you can tell. You know, when you start switching from having trousers with the bottom fly to elastic, that's when you know you're creeping over the fat world. Trust me, I've been there. Let's play.
First started, you know, sometimes people look behind the curtain or something, and it changes. Yep. You know, I hate the business of stand-up. I fucking hate the business of stand-up. I hate the business of stand-up. But I love stand-up comedy. So I'm caught in so I figured out how to avoid all those things that I don't like from stand-up comedy, the egos and stuff like that.
What's he going to say?
You got out of it. You started a podcast. It became very successful. One day I'm going through fucking Facebook, and I see that fucking Brendan Schaub's doing stand-up at the store, and I go, no.
This is not a conversation he wants to have on air. It's like, it's brutal, isn't it? He's having these conversations with these people he considers to be peers and mentors and shit. And one in Joe Rogan got him to quit his career, right? Cancel flipping UFC. Give it up. You're never going to be champion. Live on air on Joe Rogan. Like, imagine how embarrassing that must have been at the time it happened. Like, it's meant to be a good friend. And then now you got another guy here sitting you down one-to-one and saying, I never wanted to do stand-up. I'm like, oh my God, what's this Momo doing stand-up? Oh my God. You know, like, you're like, you can't take it. Oh, let's keep playing.
I go, why is he doing this? I don't want him, you know, in my heart, I'm like, and I wasn't hating.
No, but yeah.
I just didn't know what you were going to go up there and talk about.
Protective, man, yeah.
I avoided
Protective.
You.
Yeah, you did.
I didn't say a fucking word. I can't. I don't want to be put in a position where Brendan comes up to me and asks me, what do I think? You know what I'm saying? Like, he's my brother. The other day, I fucking...
So basically, he told him from then on that he didn't think it was funny because it wasn't like he said, oh, you're actually really good. He just said, I didn't want people put in that position. Oh, this is brilliant.
You know, Ari's gone. So I called Eric and I go, Eric, do you mind if I host? Ari wrote me a letter. And he goes, I want you to watch. And you know, so the other night when I went to that storytelling show,
this is
not happening. Yeah. I was sitting there as Joey Diaz, but in my mind, I was Ari. And I would go up to Ari afterward and go, what do you think of that story? And he'd go, he's talking about this. That's not a story. That's a bit, you know? And I compared.
You were a little cold to me even when I came in.
Oh, yeah.
I knew so. I text Rogan and Bryan. I'm like, dude, did I do something to Joe?
Oh, look at
before this, like weeks before.
I go, God damn it.
So Rogan has always been daddy. Oh, Daddy Rogan, that meme that people keep posting on flipping the Fire in the Kid subreddit, it's got some legs to it. Daddy Rogan was always Daddy Rogan.
Brendan, Rogan, did I do something to piss off Joey Diaz? He didn't say hi to me at the comedy store. He didn't give me an edible like he usually does. Like, what? These guys, grown men with children, with wives at home, with mortgages, with kids in school, with family they're looking after, texting another man about their relationship with another man. Like, are you insane? Just text the guy himself, innit? See what's the deal. God almighty.
Listen, you're a fighter. You've had 30 fights, you said on stage the other night?
I've had a bunch, yes.
30 fights,
yeah.
Okay.
Amateur boxing.
What if tomorrow I got my blue belt and you were happy for me, and then 2 weeks later you saw a picture of me on Twitter at the boxing gym on Sunset with my fat little gut. And all of a sudden, a month later, you saw Joey go into a smoker.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Joey goes 5-0.
Yeah.
He arm bars one guy or Kimura's him with his weight. The other guy was a lucky punch. You know what those smokers, not everybody's ready for MMA, and
For
maybe
sure.
I'm better. I go 5-0. And one day I bump into you, and I got the balls to tell you, bro, I'm quitting stand-up. I talked to Dana. He's going to give me a fight against. You're going to look at me and go, Jesus, Joey, you're a good stand-up. Why are you doing this?
I get it, man.
So when all this is...
He doesn't get it, though. He doesn't. And he admitted it later on. He doesn't get it because at this time, he admitted with his own fucking voice, this guy is awful, isn't it, as this person. He legitimately thought when Joe Rogan and Bryan Callen told him not to take the Showtime deal, that they were hating on him because he got the deal so quick in his career. Because he legitimately thought that he was... He must have felt, because this is the thing, is I have some sympathy with Brendan, because if you follow Brendan's story, he's always been the, what's it called? What's that phrase people use when you're the bridesmaid and not the bride, right? Is that the phrase? Something along those kind of lines. He's always been that kind of guy. So he's had people around him. He's always been successful in the fields that they want to be successful in, whether it's lacrosse professionally, whether it's flipping football, UFC. He's always the one that's been last picked, whatever it may be, right? Strength coiler. Those are the things that he's kind of been. But also, he's always kind of failed. Just when he kind of is on the cusp of doing something, it never works out. Like his football career. Say what you want about his football career, whether he did it or not. He did get to some level, but not the level he wanted to get to. He didn't sign for an NFL team. He was on a practice squad. He did a walk-on. He made a cup of coffee, whatever. Didn't really get as far as he wanted to get to. UFC, the same thing. Even though it's delusional, because his skill set wasn't good enough, he actually went in there with the intention of being a champion. He thought he could be UFC champion. It didn't work out. Yeah? He kind of got embarrassed a little bit and then basically, essentially left basically. Then he gets into stand-up, or podcasting and stand-up. Podcasting goes really well really quickly. So he thinks, I finally find my thing because it's coming easy. Then stand-up, he tries it and it becomes easy too. He's getting booked everywhere. He's getting invited on different shows. I'm not surprised, personally. I'm not surprised that Brendan had that level of ego at that time. It makes a lot of sense to me, personally, because it was the first time in his life he's ever got some kind of positive affirmation, reaction from the universe that he's on the right path. Because sometimes it's hard to figure out, am I actually doing the thing I should be doing? Like sometimes even with the DJing stuff, you're chasing this dream with the DJing and that, like I'm doing at the moment. And sometimes you can look at yourself and think of, why am I doing these things? Like, who cares about me DJing? Who gives a fuck? But then you maybe think in the back of your head also, you never know. This one stream I do could be the one stream that somebody at some club sees and you suddenly kind of takes you to the way you need to get to. But imagine the opposite. Imagine if you're Brendan and the first DJ stream you put out, somebody from fucking, fucking Avicii's guys calls you up and says, hey, do you want to come on tour? Right? One of David Guetta's guys says, hey, do you want to help out on an album? Like suddenly, like from the first record you put out, for the first stream you put out, it would maybe make you think you're better than what you are, but maybe he got you because he thinks you're funny, because he likes the fact that you got your own inbuilt audience, because you're going to probably sell tickets or whatever it may be. There may be other reasons tied to other part of your skill, but because you get fast tracked, it kind of gives you a delusion, a warped sense of where you're actually at. You don't really realize where you're actually at because your levels of your bookings are going to such a level that it doesn't make sense. Like he was probably booking 200 to 500 cap venues. He's probably selling them out at this level. Being 2 years in, having crappy jokes, he was already selling out 500 cap venues, and some legit stand-ups were struggling to fill out 250 seats. So it's no surprise that he turned into a bit of a monster, in my opinion. No surprise, really.
Going down, I'm like, why is this happening? I like him on the podcast. I'm sitting there, and you went on stage.
Exactly, Coiler. He's like Carl Cox putting on his cat dealer to open. Exactly. And if I'm not mistaken, actually, one of those guys, I think it's what's his name? Oh, Jamie Jones, I think. One of Jamie Jones's guys. Yeah, that's a story. The rumor is Jamie Jones, this really popular house DJ, one of these people that he kind of works with and then his label, and somebody kind of mentored and brought up, called Richie Ahmed. He originally was their dealer. He was like the guy that used to sell them pills and shit. And then, you know, at one after hours, he just started playing and started hanging out with them. And then they decided to bring him on tour because he was also, you know, their dealer, allegedly. And he could also DJ. So it kind of, you know, killed two birds with one stone. They didn't have to use the dealers, the opening DJs from the promoters. They could bring their own guy. And also he could maybe provide the party packs. And that's how he got started into DJing. So it kind of does happen a lot. But obviously, Richard Ahmed is he's improved over the years. He's got a lot better. But when he first started, he wasn't great. But he was getting booked to all these amazing venues in Ibiza and shit that made it look like he was a legit DJ when he wasn't.
And more, every fucking 2 minutes, I fell in love with you more. I thought you were going to go up there and tell a story about UFC pussy and fucking protein stinky pussy or something. It was completely different. You told a fucking very touching story of your heart and what your goals were, and you had it set up. You had the tags at the perfect place. You talked about, you know,
I said it's funny
things
though.
that I've always laughed about.
Talk about.
This is why I don't go to sports games, because you got to walk in with a jersey. What if that team loses? You got to take the train all the way home in New York with a Mets shirt on like a fucking asshole.
Yeah, people don't think about it.
Oh, I can't imagine being on the losing end of a fight and walking out holding your stuff. They never even show it. Only once when Aldo lost. Dana White made sure that camera was on Aldo. They had him in the bathroom crying. It's
humiliating.
It's humiliating. It's fucking humiliating. You describe it, and you put me there. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, oh, my God.
Nothing funny, though.
You know, I could never fucking do this, what he
Nothing
did.
funny.
Mm-hmm. And you went, and I left there that night blown away. Like, I
Anything
went
funny?
home and sat in the living room, and I said, talent is talent. I'm such an asshole for thinking that. I thought, I've had a lot of people who have just gotten into stand-up, and then after they've done it a year, they've actually come up.
He said he was talented. To be fair to him, though, he is talking about the Brendan Schaub story that he did on Irish Affairs thing, right? That was really good. That might be actually Brendan's best comedic content online. That story he told. There's a lot of holes in it, and some of it obviously isn't true. But that story was pretty tight. And if I remember correctly, that story was punched up and was tweaked by Bert Kreischer. But that's when Brendan and Bert were quite close still. But he used to kind of lean in for help, and obviously because he was more of a story type comedian. So that maybe makes sense because that's what Joey Diaz saw. So the first thing that Joey Diaz saw was that story time thing that he did. So it makes sense why he thought the guy's funny. I get it. I kind of get it.
Up to me and put their chest up to me. Said, bro, I'm going to Montreal, and it took me a year. And in my mind, I won't wish him no evil, but I'll go, this motherfucker has no idea. He has no idea. He's going to go up there and bomb when he sees the big lights. It's like fighting in smokers.
For sure.
And then I'm in Vegas, bitch. And even though I'm 5-0 and I got a great right hand, and I got a great jiu-jitsu game, my guard is tight. Let me tell you something. The lights, the people, that's a complete different ball game. You know, I almost shit my pants at the Wilton Theater. I've been doing comedy 26 fucking years. I went out to the Wilton Theater. I looked up. I saw all those people. I had to stop for 2 seconds, bro. My legs went out from under me. You know what I'm saying? So when you did that the other night, I went home and I slept a couple hours. And when I woke you, I called you right in the morning.
Yeah, you did.
And I go, dog, what I saw last night blew me away. It gave me hope.
Yeah, man.
Because you told a story. You know, Ari has a big problem between a bit and a story. There's a big difference between a bit and a fucking story.
Big difference.
Big difference. And you saw it that night. A bit's great. You could do a bit and it's great. And it's probably true. What you're telling me, it's probably true. But it's not a story. There's connotations in your voice and different things in the story. And you have to take me. I have to see you.
Yeah, man.
You made me saw you on the floor. I almost fainted thinking about the booger and the red blood all on the floor while you were grobbering. Yeah. So you took me for a psychological journey, and that psychological journey was so good that it made me drive to Playa del Rey to see my brother and give him props
You're
like
the best,
a motherfucker.
Man. You're the fucking
and
best.
I mean that from my heart. So I just wanted.
So that's interesting, isn't it? That's interesting. Back then, when Brendan was in shape, looking tight, looking somewhat humble and modest, Joe Diaz gave him this. If anything, these words of encouragement should have been good for him to kind of keep going down this path of like being really introspective, really being brutally. If anything, imagine, right? Let's just look at it as a scene, as a kind of advice. Imagine if you're Brendan, right, and you decide, okay, I lie all the time. I'm a liar. I'm known as a liar, pathological liar. I lie about everything. I embellish. It's what I do. Everyone's got their thing that they do. But then maybe you say to yourself, when I'm on stage, that's me. That's the truest version of me. I'm going to go on stage and just bare my soul. However brutal, however ugly, however bad it makes me look, I'm going to be as honest as I can on that stage. That's going to be my actual cathartic place. That's going to be the place where I really be honest with everybody out there for the most part, and with myself. That's where I can actually be my truest version of myself anyway. That would be amazing for his career. Like, imagine how better of a stand-up he would be and how well regarded he'd be. Like, okay, he may be a piece of shit off camera, so he may be a piece of shit off stage. He maybe he's all involved in drama. He might DM your girl. He might, ask you for a trug walk, right? He may ask you where Hitler is, if you found Hitler, right? To ask you to tell him to thank him, right? He might tell you to shoot for the stars, and shoot for the moon. You might land on the stars, right? He might tell you to beg to differ, but when he gets on stage, he's going to be completely honest. That would be amazing. But instead, this praise you got from Joey Diaz, this kind of glory and whatnot, he just dumped it and went back to doing hacky jokes about his wife cooking carne asada. Like, what? Huh? Pico de gallo. Like, he went to that. Like, imagine how bad that is. Absolute legend. Pico de gallo. Let's do this quickly before I have to. This is quite good. Yeah, let's do this. This one is one of my favorite clips. I have to play this. Let's play this. So, bear with me a sec as it loads up here. Go. Come on, load up, you absolute redact. So I'm gonna call my computer now the redact. The redact. Be disappointed. Chipotle doesn't sell cookies to go with their pico de gallo. That Mexican cookie joke, I swear on my life. I've said it on the stream. I swear on my life. That's the best joke in the special. It lives rent free in my head. I just think about it from time to time. Mexican cookies. Oh, bravo, Brendan, man, bravo. You probably didn't mean it, but that was the most funniest joke you've ever said. I swear to God, that legitimately got me. Like, it literally pops into my head, like randomly, it would just pop into my head. Salsa choc chip cookies. Oh, I'm crying. Oh, man. This nigga wanted to record a 30-minute special and he turned in 25 minutes. And only 24 of those or 23 was actual jokes. Oh, man. Oh, God. Anyway, let's continue. So, I want to know, I want to know this. Why does Brendan record the Schaub show so early in the morning? Can someone tell me this, please? Because clearly, my man isn't a morning person. Like, not everyone has to be morning people. To be fair, the term morning person, all that sort of shit annoys me. I remember working with certain people who you have that person at work that you couldn't speak to them in the morning until they had their coffee. Pressure, like, get out of here, man. I'll speak to you when I want to speak to you, innit? Like, good morning. Say good morning back, bitch ass. Well, I beat your ass. Whatever, right? Like, those kind of people that exist. I hate that type of person. But Brendan's clearly that type of person. He doesn't react well to the mornings. He looks really bleary-eyed and horrible and maybe hungover, maybe still high. I don't know. But I just want to know why he records it so early in the morning, because this is what he sounds like and looks like when he's recording the show first thing in the morning doing the Schaub show.
Poppin' Monday morning. Woo! That's Mortal Kombat.
Anyway, let's go back again. Let's go back again. Let's go back again. One more time.
What is poppin' Monday morning? Woo! That's Mortal Kombat.
By the way, this is on somewhat. This is on like 36p, maybe 48p. Right? My computer isn't the greatest. RAM's probably maxing out, so I haven't edited this video or this clip in any sort of way. And look how horrible this guy looks in the morning. The bags under his eyes, the puffiness of his face. His skin hasn't felt moisturizer or any kind of ointment or cream in a million years, right? He looks horrendous. Horrendous. Maybe the gel is from yesterday, the pomade. He probably applied it in traffic in a car, driving with his car with no hands, knees on the steering wheel, as he puts pomade into his hair, into the flipping, the visor mirrors when he's driving halfway through the streets, mate. But why record this so early? If this is your studio and you can go there anytime you want, why would you record this first thing in the morning? He looks horrible. Like legitimately horrible. I'm not sure whether, again, he could be just hungover and high, or he could just be, he needs a couple of hours to get ready and to get right? And to kind of get in the flow of things. Why don't you just do it then? Why does it have to be straight away like this? And this is meant to be, and this, imagine, right? The thing that's really funny about this thing, the Schaub show was, before that was Below the Belt. That was the show that was backed by Showtime. He was getting a check. He was getting, I don't know, let's guess. Maybe 100 grand a month. Maybe even less, maybe more, who knows? Let's say 50 grand a month for doing the show. And it was probably the worst version of Brendan Schaub. Of all his shows, of all his media that he does, the Schaub show, and before that, the Below the Belt is definitely the worst version of him. He can't speak. He doesn't really look engaged. He doesn't look like he cares. He looks like he wants to be any other place, and he just literally goes through the motions. It's like it pains him to go through some stories. Some things he gets annoyed by that are on the list of stuff. He maybe only reads stuff the first time that he actually mentions it on the news in terms of, MMA or whatever, combat sports news. Fight cards, he doesn't even know them. Even main events, he has to read the list off of flipping Wikipedia and shit. Like, he clearly doesn't like what he's doing, but he does it so early in the morning. Why? Yeah, his eyebrows are good though. But yeah, his eyebrows are always on fleek. Weirdly enough, even though his beard isn't, his eyebrows always does right. But God Almighty, man, why would you record this so early in the morning when you sound so terrible? Can someone tell me this, please? Can someone tell me this? I really want to know. Why would you do that when he looks so horrible? But hey, what can you do? That's Brendan looking absolutely terrible, looking legitimately like he's, sick and shit. And yeah, drinking rain, of course, getting that promo in there, making sure that they're kind of knowing that he's providing them with the maximum coverage as possible. So big up Rain for keeping the lights on over there at fucking Schaubland. Big up Rain for keeping the lights on there over at Schaubland. Next, we're going to talk about this. Where is it here? Can I find the clip? Where is it? Is it there? Is it that one? No, it's not. Is it this? Oh, God Almighty, where is it? It's on here. I don't have it here somewhere. Where is it? Come on, where are ya? Where are ya? Oh, I haven't uploaded it. Oh, I always do this, don't I? Why don't I have it here? Any facet? No, it's not that. It's not this. It's not that. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and let's change this one. Hold on, baby, 1 second. Oh no, there we go. We got it. So let's also talk about this. I want to talk about this because I think this is absolutely illuminating and really interesting. So, what's his face? What's the actor's name? Frank Grillo was on the Fighter and the Kid, and he spoke to them about his love for cane corsos, the same dog. I think his name was Tank that Brendan gave away, because obviously he didn't listen to the fucking breeder. Who gave him the dog and said, hey, you shouldn't have this if you have kids. He said he wanted to take it anyway because he's an alpha male and no woman can tell him what to do. So he basically was going to bring that dog back to his home
and give it, to his family and let his wife look after it while he goes out on tour and plays slapbutt with all his fellow comedians, and let them handle this absolute beast of a dog that isn't meant to be, around children, or if it is, it's meant to be trained really, 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 really well. But clearly, my guy isn't going to be training his dog in any kind of way. He's definitely just going to be, palming it off to the wife and letting her deal with it. And clearly she was also within her right to be completely annoyed, because she's going to have to deal with the fallout if this dog ends up being an absolute weapon that we absolutely believe it's going to be. And then of course Brendan, being embarrassed, he didn't talk about it ever again and basically gave the dog back. Essentially, that's a breed, which is horrible, right? You introduce it to a home, you make it seem like it's going to be there forever with his family, and then you give it away again. That's absolutely irresponsible stuff that he did, right? And a lot of people that have dogs, that are dog people, were really, really annoyed by it, like super, super annoyed by it. And I want to check this out here. I think it's about here. I think this might be the clip. Let me see. Hopefully I have it on the right place. But let's just play it from here and see what it does. But the conversation around the Cane Corso comes up, and for whatever reason, Brendan, instead of just sitting there and admitting, oh, by the way, I had one, I fucked up, and just kind of being honest about the story, he kind of plays off like he's still got the dog. And Bryan clearly is a bit annoyed by it and kind of rolls his eyes a couple of times. It's quite funny.
These German Shepherds, you couldn't get a hold of them because they bought them in freaking troves. They bought all the German Shepherds for security. Guns you couldn't get. Security you couldn't get because all the big time celebrities had all the security because they're worried they were next.
People were panicked.
Yeah. Of course. But the motto of that story is carry a gun.
Or hang out with Steve McQueen.
Or get 2 cane Corsos like me, man.
Those
you can't
dogs
come near my house.
Those dogs are no joke.
They are no joke.
I told you not to do it.
As they've gotten older now, they've gotten out of puppydom. They're 2 years old. They are serious animals. And I take them. I have this. There's like a 15-acre plot that some guy in the OC owns. That it's me and
humble brag.
Jeremy Renner lives across the street, and it
humble brag.
House. My dogs go running. It's a mount. My dogs are the most athletic animals I've
by
ever
far.
seen.
Nuts.
Oh
You just got one. Yeah, best dogs ever.
Any.
I don't know if this guy is homeless. I think this might be Frank Grillo's son. I'm not sure if he's homeless or stuff. He's like, hey, you just got one, right? Let's go back to that again. That was beautiful. And him, without missing a beat, lied straight away. Instant lie. No flinching. Also, if you're wearing denim jogger pants with elastic at the bottom, you gotta burn them. You gotta throw them in the bin. You've got to lay them across the motorway somewhere and let a bunch of cars run over them. And if they get chewed up in the wheel arch and they get spun in the axle and they rip apart to different little pieces and then they get spread all across the interstate, good job. But you shouldn't be wearing them. You shouldn't be wearing denim jogger pants with elasticated cuffs. That's pretty crazy. Just my opinion. But hey.
I got a bunch of workers in my house. Anyone.
Nuts.
Oh my. Dogs go running. It's a mount. My dogs are the most athletic animals I've
by
ever
far.
seen.
Nuts.
Oh
You just got one. Yeah, best dogs ever.
I got a bunch of workers in my house.
I just love how quickly he lies. Yep, best dog ever. Yep, got all the games, mate. Yep, completed it. Yep, I fucked her. Yep, fucked her too. Yeah, he fucked me. Yep, whatever. Yep, got him.
House. Anyone comes near my house, these dogs are on them.
It's dude. So when he first got them, they're both like 4 months old, and they're shitting and they're barking and everything else. And Frank just goes, "I gotta get rid of them. I'm not having 2 of these. I gotta get rid of one of them." So
not gonna lie, the way Bryan Callen sits cross-legged on the chair like that, it just gets on my nerves. Maybe even more so than him wearing flip-flops with skinny jeans. I hate it so much. Maybe because he's such a small man, or whatever it may be. I don't know. But it just annoys me, like that's how someone sits down that's been to like a private boarding school in the Swiss Alps, Daddy's gonna come collect me in his Jaguar. That's what I hate it. Daddy's gonna come in a new Maybach. Waiting for the jet to pull up actually with Henry, my butler. That's how he's sitting down. It's just annoying.
I'm getting rid of him. He calls the guy. He goes, "You got to take one of the dogs." Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, tomorrow, good. Like that. And his son, Liam, comes walking out with one of the dogs in his hand. Kit. And his kid's son's like 16 at the time. Comes out.
No, he's like 15.
15. He comes out like this, and Liam's super sensitive. Liam loves animals more than anything. So Liam walks out like this, and Frank goes, "We're going to get rid of that dog. We're going to give it back to the trainer tomorrow." And Liam just goes, that doesn't work for me. And Frank, there's a moment, Frank looks in his eyes and Frank goes,
really serious.
Fuck! He goes, fuck! He goes, well, you got to take care of it then.
By the way, cut to, we live in this new house.
Look at Brendan's face. He's like doing the whole like tennis thing. He doesn't want to get involved. And same thing about the fucking cane courses, but he's just partaking and laughing as if he's got one at home. Oh, the lying is tier level.
And Liam's got the biggest room in the house. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I go in the room the other night.
Humble brag. I like when he's humble brags though. He's bragging about the field that he's got where his dogs play, and he's bragging about the size of his kid's room. That's pretty nice brags to have, right? He's not bragging about his fleet of cars or about him having a big dick. He's just talking about, hey, I've got room for my dogs to play. I love that, seeing my dogs play. And I've got these big rooms for my kids so that they never leave me. That's quite nice.
Laying across his body, Sophie.
Yeah.
He's got a connection to
I love that dog.
And you go near that kid.
They're the best dogs you can buy.
Oh my God.
I want that.
Oh my God, Brendan, don't get involved like this. You sold yours. You bought one and you gave it back to the trainer. Some people are accusing you of killing it, right? That's some of the rumors. Again, I'm just saying what the internet says. I don't know. I don't know what happened, Papa. I don't know, B. I wasn't there. Great dog, never met him, right? But some people are saying you might have sprinkled some Xanax in that dog food. I don't know, man. I don't know.
That dog, I told you, I wanted
She
that
has turned
female.
into my favorite. I mean, she
I told
is
you.
I've never seen an athlete. I mean, she is
so
like
smart.
the Michael Jordan of.
Now imagine
She's so much smarter than Rumlow.
Imagine if Sharon Tate had
that's
that
not
dog.
very hard. Rumlow's not very smart.
If Sharon Tate had those dogs, like
Yeah.
the whole course changes.
Correct. My dog, I was playing
Oh
fetch
my God, he loves that serial killer nonsense, isn't it? It's Sharon Tate. All right, guy, relax.
with Rumlow. He by accident he grabbed my wrist instead of the stick. Opened me up right to the bone. I
remember this.
He barely
He
had
didn't
his
mean
mouth,
to, yeah.
almost crushed my hand.
They're great with kids, great with
Yeah.
family, the best
Yeah.
dogs.
Like they
best
are
dogs you can
serious
get.
animals. Anyway, I digress.
So, but the guy who wrote it was into Manson. You just like the script.
You know why he's lying? You know why he's lying? Because of how he switched the topic so quickly. He wanted no parts of just continuing into it. He just switched it quick style. It went back to whatever they're talking about previously. I love it.
Yeah, so he kind of went out to the desert one weekend and had this kind of interaction with a cult-like family, and then this idea kind of came about. And I had met him a couple years back, and for a year was helping him make script edits. They had a director attached.
That's cool.
Director dropped out, and I kind of got my chance to
That's cool.
to jump in.
Let's throw it all out on the ground. The script was horrific.
We had to work on it.
Yeah.
We had to work on it.
I mean, we
Yeah.
had to.
Okay. Anyway, but you get the drift there. I find it absolutely hilarious how he did that. That was brilliant work there for Brendan. Sticking to the lie, committing to the bit. I had that dog. I love that dog. It's still there. It is what it is. Leave me the fuck alone. Anyway, we're gonna end it with this one's a bit of an interesting one. Should we do this one? What was he saying? Oh yeah, this is I think he's sticking to Harlan Williams. I think Brendan here. Harlan Williams on his podcast. He mentioned something about not looking back. I think I think Harlan asked him about his regrets. I think that's what it is. It's a clip about his regrets. Introspection of the clip here from the Find the Kid subreddit. He tries to be introspective, but obviously can't handle it. I also find it very interesting. Maybe it's just me, or maybe because I'm watching too much Brendan material. But don't you guys find it weird when people are like, when people say stuff like, I'd never look back? Because people that say that stuff like that are also kind of people that don't have. I'm not saying you should be hanging out with your fucking high school friends and shit, but they don't speak to any of those people in their lives at all. They're just completely like isolated from everybody, and they suddenly got this new group of friends that they kind of call their best friends, but it has no ties to the old ones, and also they don't have any stories. That's the thing that's weird about Brendan always. He doesn't really have any stories about people he kind of grew up with, like outside of just the comedy people that he knows. You don't hear him talking about someone that I went to school with, this guy, that. Nah, it's all just like comedy people. That's all that consumes his life, which is really bizarre. But I don't know, something always tells me there's something off about someone that's like, I never look back. It's like, I'm not telling you to be like a nostalgia dreamer, but having some recollection of where you came from and what it was like, and maybe some dear memories is pretty healthy. But I never look back, I only look forward. You take steps backwards, all that sort of shit. It's just weird. But anyway, let's continue.
Biggest regret I have? I mean, I never look back too much on my past.
I like that.
Regrets.
You don't want to, right?
No.
It's the fighter in you. You keep going, but
I like how everyone keeps relating everything that he does to fighting. That's what you're looking up like, oh my God, please, not again.
Fight. I guess the one thing, as far as regrets go, it's a good product, and I appreciate the people that support it. But I remember, and you'll know this, doing comedy when I was doing comedy maybe 2 years when I got my first major special.
Oh yeah.
So Showtime asked me to do a special.
Yeah.
I remember I called Rogan, I called Callen, and I was asking Dilly and Theo, my close friends, and they're like, "Don't do it. Don't do it, man. Everyone waits about 10 years. There's a reason for that."
Oh, wow.
And I was like, "Oh, they're just haters. They're mad." They didn't, which wasn't the case.
No,
they
that
were trying to
wasn't the
protect
case.
me.
Yeah.
They're like, no. There's no reason to. Just keep working. You're doing great. There's no reason to put this out right now. I was like, "Oh, they're just haters."
No.
And then I thought, then you do it. And
you know what's funny about this clip? There's not a moment where he says, "I fucked up my ego." Like, he doesn't even try to be introspective, like, "Oh, my ego is too crazy. I can't believe I thought that." But just imagine the hubris and the arrogance on somebody who's 2 years into comedy, gets offered a special off the back of their skin. That special wasn't a bad idea from Showtime. I understand it, because in Showtime's case, they're betting that he's a kind of a protege, right? He's somehow this kind of freak of nature who can bypass all the common steps that comedians have to go through in order to become successful. He's somehow the anomaly. That could happen. Who knows? But also, they gave him the special because of his fame. At that time, he had a very popular podcast. He was very well known, associated with the UFC, associated with Joe Rogan. It would make financial sense to give him a Showtime special. And I'm sure on Showtime's end of things, with the numbers and the views, they probably recouped whatever they gave him investment. I'd imagine. That's why they gave him another contract. They're like, "Oh, this guy generates views." Little did they know, a lot of the views weren't coming from a good place, right? The kind of people like hate watching him and stuff. But I don't think Showtime were bad for opening the deal. It was him. He should have not took the deal. But I like how he's spinning it and saying that they were trying to protect him, when really it was his ego that wasn't allowing him to basically understand that his friends who were, again, this is a guy that's 2 years into comedy, thinks that guys like Chris D'Elia, at the time he was non-cancelled, Theo Vaughn, Joe Rogan, and Bryan Callen, two of those guys are got 40 plus years experience, 20 years each, and he thinks they're hating on him. Imagine the hubris you'd have to have, the arrogance, the entitlement, the lack of self-awareness that you think those four guys are only there to tell you not to do it because they're hating on you, because they think you've got that, what you don't deserve. They should have a special. It's like, huh? Didn't Rogan at the time have a special on Netflix? Wasn't Chris D'Elia doing stuff with like TV? Like, wasn't he on that show with that fucking Whitney or something? Wasn't Theo Vaughn on the way to bubbling up? Bryan Callen's already doing this thing. Why would they be jealous of you? Maybe you're selling tickets, but the Showtime special is not that big of a deal for other comedians that have got deals already. It's like, what? God almighty, insane.
And then I thought, people would realize that I was the fastest ever to get a major network special 2 years in, which is insane.
Yeah.
And I thought
that's a bit of a humble brag, to be honest. 2 years in, oh my God.
People would realize that, man, only 2 years in was able to do an hour, and this was, as for doing it 2 years, pretty good. No. When you do that, you're entering the big leagues.
Yeah,
It's Showtime. So you're there with the Sebastian had a special on Showtime.
Yeah.
Eric Griffin, Burrs on HBO.
Like seasoned guys that have been doing it 20 years.
Yeah. And they were just trying to protect me.
Yeah.
He honestly thought doing a special after 2 years, even if it wasn't good, people would give him the benefit of the doubt that he's only 2 years in. And they don't understand that. What? That doesn't even happen in fighting. If somebody gets into the octagon and fights somebody, but they've not got that much experience, but the UFC just signed them for whatever reason, they still get judged the same way everyone else gets judged. There is no like, oh yeah, you're only a couple of years in. Like, you get judged the same way because you're in the same fucking octagon. If you're on this level, you should be good. If you're not good, then we're gonna tease the fuck out of you. Like, this guy is insane, man. Wow, I'd love to think like that. Like, he legitimately didn't think anything was wrong with doing a special the way that he did it, of that scale, after only being in the comedy for 2 years. And this is not 2 years like, he's like doing fucking, pedal to the metal, like fucking shows every day, every state, just going everywhere, performing in car parks, in hotels, doesn't matter, just getting reps and sets in all the time. No, he was performing in front of his own crowd. He's essentially at the time, he's doing TFATK lives, essentially, and also his own little shows, but just in front of his own crowd. That's what he was doing. That's the only experience he had to perform in front of. Whew.
They were. I can honestly back that up. Yep. But the other side of it, Brendan, is how do you say no? Like, imagine if Joe Rogan 2 years in, or me, or anyone, they said, hey, we want to, you're too new to not know that it's probably the wrong move. You're like, oh my God, this will propel me.
I don't agree with that. I think it's okay for Joe Rogan and those guys not to do it because at the time they didn't probably have enough comedic peers and people around them to tell them, hey, don't do that. But if you're Brendan and you're this new and this green and those vets have gone through what they've gone through and have seen all the pitfalls of people, successes and whatnot, you should probably listen to them. Like, they probably would do it because at the time they probably have the information or whatever it may be. And still then I don't think it would have been the case. But especially if you're like coming up new, as Brendan did, he has no reason to take that deal straight away. He should be, he should be deferring to the more experienced people and asking for their opinion, really and truly. That's what it should be.
Yeah.
It's like in anything. Like,
and I always learn the hardest way.
Yeah.
Like, and they know that. With anything, it's like I have to learn the way I learn, and
you gotta learn.
Taking the toughest road.
It's like if they...
That's not good though, isn't it? Just learn the normal way though. You didn't have to do that. That's the thing I think as well that's really odd about this whole thing. Is like, if anything, that, yes, it was good in terms of the money, in terms of the profile. It probably boosted him and allowed him to change his flipping way of life forever and ever. But reputational wise, you could argue he hasn't ever recovered from You'd Be Surprised. The damage that has done to his fucking, artistic talents or potential, or his body of work is quite irreversible if you think about it. I think I remember hearing somebody, I forgot who it was. It was some sort of R&B singer. I think maybe it was SZA or somebody. Yeah, I think it might have been SZA. I think she said something like, the interviewer asked SZA like, because SZA's known for like, not dropping leaks early, taking really long with albums, and just kind of keeping her fans like, not really fed in terms of music. Like, when it comes out, but it takes a while to come out. In this age, maybe not a while in real time, but it takes a while, right? And I think she said something along the lines of like, I plan to be around for a long time, but music lasts forever. I don't want anything on my catalog that I'm not going to be willing to stand behind in 20 years. I want stuff that's legit. So I'm not going to put anything out until I know it's good, like legit. That's the only way I'm going to go with this stuff. So, because they know, like a bad song is not going to be in a discography forever, especially a really terrible one. So with specials, I think it's the same thing. So with Brendan Schaub, no matter what he does going forward, everyone's always going to remember You'd Be Surprised because of how bad it was. How like categorically, subjectively, objectively, generally, overall terrible it was. And that stink can never go away. So in one sense, you get opportunity to change your life forever and ever in terms of monetary gain. But artistically, creatively, you kind of corrupt yourself, and if anything, maybe even the comedians around you never look at you the same again because they think, why would you even take that deal? Do you know what I mean? You're 2 years in. Why do you think you're that good? It's a strange thing to kind of do, in my opinion, because it could be even argued. I know some people have said differently, but I don't really see much difference between Gringo Papi and You'd Be Surprised. I think Gringo Papi may be better because it's shorter, but I think if he did release the 1 hour cut, because BGL said. He actually, this is the funny thing, BGL revealed on one of those podcasts that the Gringo Papi is actually 1 hour long, but Brenda actually purposely cut it to 30 minutes to fit that narrative that he has going on about some Netflix person telling him, people only watch the first 28 minutes of a special. So I thought, logical brain, 1 + 1 = 2, let me cut 25 minutes out of it and put that up. People are definitely going to watch it, whatever, redacted this, but still. I don't really see much difference between You'd Be Surprised and Gringo Papi in terms of quality of jokes. I think if Gringo Papi was 1 hour long, the same way that You'd Be Surprised was, people would definitely see that there's hardly any difference. So it's not even like he's improved in those years in between. So if he put that first special out and it was terrible, then he waits, 6-7 years, 4 years, however it is, to put Gringo Papi out, and it's still trash. He just maybe never had it. But it's the same guy that was probably thinking Rogan and stuff were hating on him. Wild.
He said for your second fight, hey, we know you're new, kid, but we want to put you in against Chuck Liddell.
Yep.
Would you go no? Probably not.
Yeah.
Maybe you would, but
no, I'd say
I
no.
wouldn't.
Yeah, I'd probably say no. Or hopefully my management team would be like, you're not ready for that.
Right.
You know?
But
as far as the business-wise, everyone around me is like, yeah, this is great for you. But the real comics who I respect so much and idolize, they're like, no, there's no upside. You're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. Your tours, keep doing that. There's no reason. There's no rush.
You know what the upside of it is, though? Even though you maybe stepped on a little landmine, you learned a lot from it. But the upside is you came out the other side and you know that those guys are your buddies.
Correct.
They're your friends.
Yep.
They weren't doing it out of jealousy or spite.
100%.
They were looking out for you.
Yep.
So that's got to be a good feeling.
Yep.
And you learn from it. So
Yep.
when you do your next special, it's like you went from this level. It's all step.
Man, this guy's really nice. Who the hell is this? Brendan doesn't deserve to be talking to somebody so nice like this. He's fucking lovely. What a nice thing to end it with. How positive and well-meaning and mannered and just, you know, just generally nice that was that he said that, right? Like, you know, I don't actually agree, you know, because I think he could have, those guys are still his friends regardless, but the fact that he took that good thing out of it is pretty nice of him, isn't it, to say that? Those guys are actually your friends. They actually didn't mean any harm. No, he didn't say protect, but they legitimately were looking out for your best interest. Not protect you as if like you're some fucking baby. But that's actually lovely from him, isn't it? What an absolutely nice gentleman. Brendan has the weirdest people around him, innit? Really weird. He has these leechy clout demons around him. Then he also has people like this around him also. It just doesn't make any sense. But I think it's LA and everyone kind of just bounce off each other to kind of get some clout, get some eyes on their stuff and whatnot, and help them kind of feed their families. So I guess it is what it is, isn't it? But yeah. Big up what you call it thing called? Big up what's his name? Big up, I think is it Harlan Williams or something? I think his name is Harlan Williams or something. Let's get one last thing here on before I bounce. See if I can get up on here. Bear me 1 second here. Let's see if I can get up on here. Let's see if this works. Let's see if this works. What's his name? See if I can get up on here. Do I remember his name here? See if I can find it. We're gonna play this before I leave you dusty asses. Let's see here. Bear with me 1 second. Where is it? Let me see if I can find it here. I got that. I got this. What's the worst? I've got anything else I want to play here? That's it, innit, right? I think that's it. Let me see. Bear with me 1 second as I just double check these tabs. See if I've got anything else I want to quickly talk to you guys about. No, not that one. Not this one. Not that. Not that. Not that. Is it this? No, it's not. Wait, make you think about it. Is it that? Maybe it might be that. What else? Is it that? It's not this. It's not that. Okay, cool. Let's go with this. So we're gonna end it with this. Let's move this because I'll need to leave. It's already 4 a.m. Oh my god, it's 4 a.m. Alright, cool. So last thing before we end the show, a little musical interlude here, courtesy of the guy CRAC. Remember I said before I wasn't a fan of these, you know, rappity type song type things. CRAC is really good though, to be fair to him, right? He's actually legitimately talented and actually way better than Little Brows. I'd actually see them actually battle. That would be pretty entertaining. But I do like what he does, and he's got a really funny, interesting song out at the moment called Predator, which is a fucking crazy title. I haven't actually listened to it, so I want to actually listen to it for the first time with you guys and see what it sounds like. But I've got an understanding of where he's basically going with it, so this is a good way to kind of end the show. Let's see what the vibes are saying here. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, really, dude? Oh, there's a ring of pedophilia that the top producers know about and confide in each other in and keep kids and pass them around and fuck them? Oh, really, dude? and this is how you know life rips.
Hey, no dance, bitch, you know the deal. Tap my name on your wrist so I know it's real. Bitches over 20, there's just no appeal. Beat the box young like I'm Holyfield. I feel like a predator, a predator, a predator. Fuck the money and the fame, I'm a predator, a predator, a predator. What's my motherfucking name? I ain't playing with you bitches. I got a family, I ain't staying with you bitches. Fuck that, ain't no code, but I've been praying on you bitches. Pull up with daddy's milk and spread on you bitches. And my wife don't know the difference. What's your Snapchat and what's your OnlyFans? Oh, you only 16, what's your Instagram? Baby, where your bottle at? I hope you like to drink. I'm mostly sober, but I
can't do that. Whoa. If police are watching, this is a music video from Crack Amiko's YouTube account. This is not the words of Crack Amiko. Do not represent Diego Sino Zinga Show, the Random Show, or anybody else. I don't know what that was about. Whoa. What are those babies saying on there? Holy shit.
you this Moscato paint. You don't even gotta think, I can do it for you. Move you in a house with 30 bitches and record you. If I get caught, I'll apologize on video and lie to my audience and wife as I live my double life as a predator, a predator, a predator. I ain't never gonna stop, I'm a predator, a predator, a predator. To the day I drop, all I do is pray, pray, pray. 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 I woke up feeling like a Huxtable, hustling. All these hoes I'm hustling. Give it that Robitussin, no discussion, then I'm busting it. If she ain't lose consciousness, I ain't even bothering. In your hood with a sweater on, and this your bitch I'm rogering. I'm in a drop top like Adolf, and I'm about to hit the gas. I'm off a Quaalude and a Prelude, and it's going very fast. You saw me in commercials, and I always made you laugh. But this Jello ain't the only thing I'm putting in your ass. I'm a beast, I'm a dog, I'm a problem. Heathcliff Hux, I'm your motherfucking father. I take a bitch and put the bitch to sleep. Deadly silent, you won't hear repeat. I'm in television every week. Who would ever guess that I'm a freak? No one. You're getting very sleepy. Trust me, I'm a doctor, I'm just taking out my pee-pee. Such a funny guy that I'll make everyone believe me. BC, bitch, it's easy. I'm a fucking predator, a predator, a predator. Dropping comments on your page, I'm a predator, a predator, a predator. When I'm off the stage, all I do is rape, rape, rape. All I do is rape, rape, rape. All I do is rape, rape, rape. All I do is rape, rape, rape.
Oh my god, that was powerful. Yo, big up Cracker Miko. That was absolutely stupendous. Maybe the best, maybe the best and diciest flipping thing I've ever watched. Oh my god! In terms of those rap parody type things, Cracker Miko, you deserve all the flipping credit, my friend. You absolutely smashed that. And again, I'm a big critic of this shit. I usually hate the musicals. I think they suck. I think they're corny. I think they're lame. But that was hard. Parody or troll or not, that was hard. The bars were hard. The beat was hard. The video was well produced. It was hard. It made me smile from ear to ear, and I'll probably be banging that in the gym tomorrow while I'm on the fucking bench press. I'm a predator, predator. While I'm doing deadlifts, do you know what I mean? I'm gonna be playing that. But yeah, big up Zakamiko for putting that on, man. You are a fucking legend. That was absolutely amazing. Sorry, Zakamiko, Crakamiko. Zakamiko's the guy from fucking Legion of Skanks. Oh, and RIP Legion of Skanks YouTube channel, man. Hopefully they get that back. That's absolutely crazy, isn't it? They got completely deleted from YouTube, I think. Not even demonetized, deleted. Like absolutely crazy, man. So yeah, the most offensive show in the world is gone for the time being off of YouTube, but hopefully they get that shit back. Anyways, apart from that, I'm off now. It's now 3:40 here in London. So thank you so much, so guys, for hanging out with me. Apologies for the lateness again. I'll get the timestamp sorted out for this show later on today. So you guys can obviously skip around from it if you're watching this after the fact. And also have some clips up uploaded as well. As per usual, please, if you can, for the kid, make sure that you're subscribing to my Random Show channel, because sooner rather than later, I'm going to start streaming on there exclusively. Either I'll start streaming on there, or what I may do, to be completely honest, is I may actually just I may start unlisting the live videos of this and then having them only available to view again on the flipping Random Show official channel. So if you want to check that out, then please make sure that you're signed up to that channel. So just double checking me if I get up on the screen. But this is the account here. It's the Random Show. It's this channel there, as you can see over there. Zoom in on that one. So if you just go to my main channel page and click home, you should see it. So make sure you subscribe to that channel if you can. Apart from that, click like if you do enjoy it as well. That's also appreciated. Apart from that, that's it really, isn't it? I've got nothing else to really say to you guys, isn't it? Apart from just thank you for hanging out with me. It's an absolute blast. I've enjoyed every single minute of it, and I need to try to do things better, more quickly, because I hate missing out on the news and not updating everybody and not just kind of laughing at all of it all off. So big up Andre J, big up Codename COD, big up, I think you pronounce that Yan Jan, big up big up Stone Keys, Kevin, Mr. West, Uche, of course, Coilo, of course, Andrew W, Kevin, Codename COD, and Biko X. Who else is on here? Dark of J obviously was on here before. Gabriel J, everybody in the stream chat, MKR, CR, VOJ, Richie, of course. Everybody on here, big up every single one of you. I do appreciate all of you really a lot for hanging out and chilling out with me as per usual, because all I do is ramble and talk shit on here, but it does kind of help when people kind of join in and kind of join in with the fun. And of course, as per usual as well, yeah, I need to update that. Coiler told me before, I need to fucking update the Discord invite link. My bad. I'll have that updated too, and I'll have that in the description, so you can join the Discord if you want to. Get on there, jump on, little nice community that you can talk to and whatnot. That'd be great. Appreciate. Of course, if you want to submit and recommend videos for me to watch, also chuck them on the Discord if you need. But until then, my friends, I'm gonna love you and leave you. Thanks a bunch for hanging out, and I'll see you guys again very soon. Peace. Gonna go read my Hitler book now.